Reg Holloway's fumble accounted for the winning touchdown. But then the Argos marched all the way down the field, only to have Hank Olisic miss a last-play field goal that would have tied the game for the boatmen. Tonight, they are facing an Eskimo team fresh from a big win over Ottawa, in which quarterback Matt Dunnigan ran for 2 touchdowns and clinched the win early with a 61-yard touchdown pass to Chris Woods that made the score 28-14. This important return match is the Friday night presentation on CTV. Live from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, the Edmonton Eskimos versus the Toronto Argonauts. Despite warm temperatures, it's going to be fairly comfortable on the field because the sun has gone down behind the stands and it's all in shade. Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Stevenson. There's a fair amount of heat on the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, Bob Abilovich, because this is the 6th consecutive game that he's made player changes, doing it again with 5 changes for this game. In contrast, Jackie Parker's Edmonton Eskimos have had relatively few, only 1 real change since the season started. And so you have to give the edge, at least for consistency, to the Eskimos. And Parker feels they're at the top of their game right now. Now to take a closer look at these 2 clubs, it's upstairs to Pat Marsden and Lee Pedersen.
Thank you, Bill. Hello again, everybody. Well, as Bill has suggested, this is a very important contest for both these clubs. Winnipeg is currently tied with Edmonton for a 2nd spot in that Western Conference, both at 3-2, and the Argos have to win this one to get back to 500. But, Leaf, I'm wondering this. You're a player in this CFL many years ago. What would your thoughts be tonight if you had lost that last 2nd game in Edmonton?
Oh, Pat, if I'd have been a Toronto Argonaut, I'd have been counting the days till this rematch tonight because I'd have felt they stole the game from us, and I couldn't wait for a chance to show the Edmonton Eskimos that we were a better football team. But if I was an Edmonton player, I'd be saying, hey, it's a great chance for us to show Toronto that was no fluke, and we'll beat them tonight.
Well, the Argos have a number of changes once again. Let's talk about them.
Well, Bill Mitchell, the middle linebacker all season, has moved to the outside. Ralph Sagio felt that they weren't getting the production at the middle linebacking spot, and he's a better outside man. They were lucky to get James Reed from Saskatchewan. He's going to do a good job in the middle. Clyde Glover, the young defensive tackle, well, he just didn't pan out. And Mark Seal from the Ottawa Rough Riders were started that defensive tackle spot tonight.
Well, I think the Argos will play well. There's no question about that defensively. The question is, are they going to be able to score any points? Mark Casal is the man on the spot because he's their new quarterback.
This CFL telecast is brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Sports, bringing the sports world home to you.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From the far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Our referee tonight is Ross Perrier, and along with his crew, they will be handling this game, they hope, in extremely fine fashion. Ross has been a referee in the Toronto area, working in the minors and now in the pros for a good many years. This is a game, gentlemen, in which the head coach for the Toronto Argonauts, Bob Abilovich, said it's vital for him for the simple reason, he said, I map out before the year 1 point, and that is we must at least split with every team. We cannot afford to lose twice to the same club. So that makes this a must. All right, Pat, take it away.
Well, thank you, Bill. There's not a large crowd here in Toronto because it seems that most of this area is swept up with the success of the Toronto Blue Jays. But, boy, what a night for a football game. It's warm, there's no question about that, but I'm sure the temperature will drop. It's in the high 80s right now, but the sun is beginning to set. And, of course, we're located here on the banks of Lake Ontario. Edmonton has won 6 of the last 10 games against the Toronto Argonauts. The question is, can they make it 7 of 11? If they can, they will take over sole possession of second spot in the Western Football Conference. If the Argos can bounce back, well, then, of course, they will even up their season record of 3 wins and 3 losses. Chris Skinner, number 35, has dropped back to join number 74, Chris Woods, who's averaging 27 yards a return, back on the Edmonton goal line to receive the kickoff from Hank Olisic.
Well, Chris Skinner is the one that you want to return it. If you're Hank Olisic, I'm sure you're going to see him kick it to Chris.
Chris Skinner from Bishop's University in Lennoxville, Quebec, as Hank Olisic does in fact kick it his way. Skinner from the 4-yard line. Excellent coverage by that Toronto Argonaut special team unit. Contains him to the 20-yard line. So very quickly, let's set up that Edmonton Eskimo offensive alignment for you. It'll be the sophomore Matt Dunnigan at quarterback. Larry Cowan, who was their leading rusher last year, joins Milson Jones, number 34, the ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber. And the receiving corps has been really bolstered by the addition of Rick House.
Yeah, I think he's the guy that really could make that whole group go. You know what Chris Woods and Brian Kelly can do, but I think Rick House has been a great performer in his CFL career.
Eskimos start from their 20-yard line, and Dunnigan is going to put it up right away and finds Brian Kelly out at the 37-yard line. Hit immediately by Bo Metcalf, but it was just pitch and catch. Dunnigan to Kelly, a gain of 17 yards.
Now, it's funny, I talked to Brian Kelly before the game. I said, what kind of defense are you expecting tonight? And he said, a lot of zone coverage. And here's what he found in the very first play. He found the hole perfectly. Good strike by Dunnigan. That's a nice way to start the ball game.
Well, Dunnigan has really blossomed. When you consider that this man is just playing his second year of professional football, he comes into this ball game with a 61% completion average. Really is the leader of that offensive unit, as he must be. The pass is knocked away neatly by Dennis Clay, number 14.
Well, who really did the job was number 33, Rick House, to make sure Dennis Clay didn't pick that ball off. Not a good throw by Matt Dunnigan. Really off balance when he let it fly, but Dennis Clay could not come up with the interception.
There's a look at the offensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos, and of course it's a veteran one. 6.5 years average, and are they a big squad? 6'5", 260 is what they average. There's the Toronto defensive line, and you'll notice that Mark Seal wears number 76 in this, his first game for the Argos. Dunnigan's pass caught by Chris Woods. That's it. Nobody will catch this man. Touchdown, Eskimos. Chris Woods goes 73 yards on a perfect strike from quarterback Matt Dunnigan.
This guy's exciting. Got the great speed, big average. They caught Toronto once again in the zone. The 2 inside guys clear out. Chris Woods runs an in pattern underneath them, and a little mix-up on the tackling. 73 yards later, the Edmonton Eskimos jump out to an early lead.
With the point after to come. Well, that's not a bad way to start a football game. Chris Woods, reputed by some to be the fastest man in the CFL. I don't know anybody who could beat him. I know that Derek Zeno did catch him on a return one time in Ottawa, but I suspect Zeno might have had the angle on him, and that was why he was able to cut him off. So the Edmonton Eskimos have jumped out in front 7-0 as we take one more look at it.
Well, that's a good pattern against the zone. The inside guy, as I mentioned, clears out Marco Sincar. Chris Woods comes underneath him. That's a great throw, great catch. What a way to start the ball game.
And the Argos are going to have the ball when we come back. Right now, it's the Eskimos 7. Argos have yet to touch the football. The Eskimos, led by quarterback Matt Dunnigan, struck on their first offensive series, and there you see it. Just 3 plays it took them. Dixon's kickoff is angled toward the sideline, and it will go out of bounds, so the Argos will have the Eskimos do it all over again. You know, I was saying that Matt Dunnigan is a sophomore, and for practical purposes he is. But we should not forget that Matt Dunnigan was with the Eskimos Warren Moon's final year, and only played a little bit. He certainly had to learn some things, as you see him being crunched by James Curry on that touchdown pass. But Chris Woods, I mean, has such blinding speed that once he gets into the clear, nobody is going to catch him. And the ball was right on the money. Chris Woods was into the end zone before the Argos knew what had hit them.
Not bad, 1 minute and 27 seconds, and you've got a 7-0 lead.
But, of course, the question is, are the Argos going to be able to move the football? Since they've lost Conrad Holloway, they have really had a problem. Dixon's kickoff will be handled by Kerry Taylor at his 10-yard line. And this is an impressive newcomer to the Toronto outfit. He's wrapped up by Chris Skinner as he gets to the 30, but you'll hear a lot of Kerry Taylor tonight and throughout the rest of this season. There's the way they line up. Mark Cassell is the quarterback. Now, this will be his third game of actual action. He started last game. Taylor and Brock will be at the running back spots, and there are your receivers. Jan Carinci starts in the slot tonight, and the newcomer, Thad Jemison. Jemison has played previously, but he was not in the lineup last week against BC. Argos from their 32-yard line. Cassell to Terry Greer. Boy, these guys are starting off just as the Eskimos did. Cliff Toney and Darrell Hall were there to bring him down, numbers 6 and 24 respectively. It's a 19-yard pickup for the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League as it comes to yardage, Terry Greer.
Little post pattern underneath the cornerback, Darrell Hall, and Mark Cassell will definitely go to Terry Greer a lot. He had a big game against Edmonton in the opener.
First down, Argos at their 51-yard line. Cassell dumps it off the Bob Brock. Lots of room for the big fullback. And then he tripped himself up as he crossed the Edmonton 45 and fell to the 42. Danny Bass covered him at that point. But a good play by Cassell, who was getting some heat. He just dumped it off to the fullback.
Sure was, because he wanted to go back to Terry Greer again, but Edmonton had him double covered. You've got to go to your secondary receiver. He did that perfectly and found Bob Brock for another good game. 15
yards, as a matter of fact. So the Argos are in Edmonton territory at the Eskimo 44-yard line. Brock, the fullback, on the draw. He'll have another Toronto first down to the 30 before Laurent Delaurier, number 15, was there to upend him. But the pickup is 13, and as impressive as the Eskimos were in their start, the Argos are answering them.
Well, there's one guy that they're happy to have back right there, number 69, Dan Ferroni, at that offensive guard spot. He's missed the ball game, and he really solidifies that all-Canadian offensive line.
First down, Toronto at the Edmonton 30-yard line. The toss goes to Kerry Taylor. Taylor gets to the 25, so he'll pick up 5 yards before John Mandarich from Kent State, and a local boy in the Toronto area from Oakville was there to bring him down, number 75, with help from Danny Bass, number 30.
Well, I sure like the play selection on this drive by the Toronto Argonauts. Bob Abilovich sending in all the plays from the sideline, signaling quarterback Mark Cassell, but really kept the Edmonton defense off balance.
Pickup was 5. It is 2nd and 5. Toronto at the Edmonton 25-yard line. Cassell complete to Kerry Taylor. They have the first down inside the Eskimo 15-yard line. Stuart Hill, number 36, was first there to bring him down, but the pickup is 11 yards. John Daly, number 44, was there as well.
Well, like the Toronto Argonauts, Edmonton plays a lot of zone coverage, and that time Kerry Taylor out of the backfield just slipped underneath the linebackers. Mark Cassell, another good read.
Now Cassell has not missed on a pass tonight as he heads out to Bob Brock. And the big fullback is inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line before Danny Bass finally rides him down, but he'll have a pickup of about 6 yards.
Brent Murphy, newcomer to the Edmonton lineup this year at that defensive end, did not play any college football, tried out with the San Francisco 49ers initially, came to the Edmonton team as a free agent. He's a bodybuilder. He's a big kid, good linebacking core. Stuart Hill, you know all about him.
2nd and 4. Toronto inside the Edmonton 10. Cassell's pass is caught by Pearson. Touchdown, Toronto. What a drive by the Toronto Argonauts as Mark Cassell finishes it off with a touchdown strike to Paul Pearson.
Well, what the run-and-shoot offense really tries to do is get the matchups that are desirable for the offense. That time it was Paul Pearson on the linebacker, number 44, John Daly. Pearson simply outruns him to the corner of the end zone, and they're 1 point away from tying this ball game up.
Boy, what a start. Both clubs have had possession one time. Both have gone the distance for the major scores. And so, with 9 minutes and 59 seconds left to play, it's all tied up. Let's look at that touchdown again, Lee.
Well, this is starting out like the first game of the season back in Edmonton. A lot of offense and a lot of great entertainment.
We'll be back with the Toronto kickoff. It's all tied up. The Eskimos 7, the Argonauts 7. Eskimos marched all the way for a major score on their first possession. The Argonauts come right back, 78 yards in 7 plays. Took them a little longer. Only took the Edmonton Eskimos 3 plays. But there's Paul Pearson, a good friend of yours and mine. How's he feeling physically? Because I know you were talking to him just before the game.
Oh, we had a nice chat, and Paul's hamstrings are finally 100%. He said, if there's a ball I have to really extend myself for, I'm going to be able to go and get it. So that's good news for the Argonauts.
Olisic's kickoff goes to Skinner, 2 yards deep in the end zone. And again, excellent coverage by that special team of the Toronto Argonauts. They contain him inside the 20-yard line. Walter Ballard, number 79, was first downfield. Let's take a look at that linebacking core, because this is where all the switches have come for the Argos.
You know, it's interesting. Bob Babilovich in the press conference said yesterday that he felt James Reed would really be a great addition because he's finally back to being a middle linebacker in a 4-3 style defense. In Saskatchewan, he was in a 3-4 defense, and it's not the same. He's a true middle linebacker. We're going to watch him closely tonight, see how he does.
Well, let's keep an eye on Matt Dunnigan right now, number 16, the quarterback of the Eskimos, as he starts from the 17. The handoff is to Cowan, but there is absolutely no hole there as the Argos just shut it down. James Curry, number 74, was there to make the stop.
Pat, it's interesting that this Edmonton club is leading the league as far as rushing is concerned. They're looked upon strictly as a passing team, but running has been one of their fortes, and we thought they'd come out running because BC Lions destroyed the Argos in their last outing with the running game. And it looked like the Argo defense might have trouble with that run.
Well, on second down, they've got a pass now, and Dunnigan does not get it away. He ducked underneath the initial tackle of Rodney Harding, but then ran right into the arms of James Curry. And the Eskimos will be punting for the first time in the ball game, and the Argos are going to get possession in pretty good shape.
You know, Pat, you can really see the defense being a lot more aggressive on this second series, Edmonton on offense. I think that seeing the offense come back and tie this game up has given them a real lift, and that time James Curry and the rest of the defensive line did an excellent job getting the pressure.
Got an injured Edmonton Eskimo down on the field. Not seriously injured. It's Leo Blanchard. He could be winded. It's a very hot, humid night here in Toronto. And so I suspect we'll see a lot of this.
One of the key moves that was made by the Argos offensively, and as we said at the start of the show, the 6th consecutive game in which head coach Bob Babilovich has made player changes in that roster, was Taylor going to the running back slot from the slot back. And he said he can do a lot more things, he felt, than Lester Brown. That's why he released Brown. And I just find out today that Lester Brown's been picked up by the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Boy, I want to see him do a lot more things than Lester Brown could, because I was a big fan of his. Thought he was a great running back, and obviously Bob Babilovich thinks Kerry Taylor's better, but I think that really remains to be seen.
Looks like the Argos are going to go after this punt by Tom Dixon, but he gets it away. Kerry Taylor takes it at the Toronto 54, and already he's in Edmonton territory and down to the 41-yard line. Well, for one thing, Kerry Taylor can return punts, and Lester Brown didn't do that. Just want to remind everybody that tomorrow CTV will be in Saskatchewan as the Rough Riders play host to the new look Hamilton Tiger Cats. Boy, we were impressed with them in Montreal last week, and then we'll be in Calgary on Sunday to bring you the Montreal Concords against the Calgary Stampeders, and that will start at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. The game out of Saskatchewan tomorrow night will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. DeSalle's pass is caught by Bronk. And the big guy has another Toronto first down to the Edmonton 26-yard line before he's forced out by Danny Bass and John Mandarich. A pickup of 14 yards, and the Eskimos have not been able to solve the riddle of the Toronto Argonaut offense. The Argos have just moved the ball at will.
That's a good call on first down. You get that pass rush coming upfield, dump it off to Bronk, and I've been really impressed with this play selection so far in the first quarter by the Argonauts.
First down at the Edmonton 26. The toss goes to Kerry Taylor. And Taylor gets inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line before he's ridden down by Cliff Toney and Stuart Hill.
Edmonton making a switch now when they get a second and long situation against the Argonauts. Bring out number 37, Dave McNeil, the linebacker, and insert number 2, Jeff Treflin, into that defensive secondary.
So the pickup was 3 yards. It is 2nd and 7, Argos. Again, they run the draw to Bob Bronk. But he's brought down well short of the first down by Tom Tuinay.
That's a great read by Tom Tuinay. He saw it all the way, really wasn't blocked too hard, and came off, made a nice play. Force Argonauts to attempt the field goal.
That draw is the play that the BC Lions really killed the Argos with in their last game, too, so maybe they're trying to see if they can use it the same way.
Didn't work as effectively for them on that occasion as BC used it with Kevan Jenkins. But now this is Lance Chomick, number 4. His field goal try is good. Hank Olisic, of course, has given way to Lance Chomick in the field goal kicking department, and Chomick completes his 5th in 9 tries since joining the club last game.
I talked to Lance before the game. He wanted to say hello to his parents who are in Edmonton. You know that the Argos have 2 Edmonton kickers. Lance is an Edmonton boy, learned his kicking there. Of course, Hank Olisic is too. But Lance was saying after the first game on television, his father phoned him and said, well, congratulations. He said, the TV broadcast says we got your name half right anyway. And you're right, Pat, it is Chomick.
Thank you, Bill. As the Argos go into the lead 10-7, the Eskimos begin from their 35-yard line. This one is picked out by Carl Braisley. You can forget it. Touchdown, Toronto. 41-yard pass interception by Carl Braisley. Oh, he played that perfectly.
Oh, he sure did. There's Conrad Holloway on the sidelines offering his congratulations, but you know, it so often happens when you want to try and reestablish some momentum, go to that short pass, and Carl Braisley, such a veteran quarterback, he read it all the way, stepped in front of Brian Kelly, and oh, what a big play that is for the Toronto Argonauts. Hey, that's experience, Pat, that makes those interceptions. Young guys lay off, the veterans play it tight.
The point after by Chomick is good. The Argos, surprising to many, I'm sure, are out in front of the Edmonton Eskimos 17-7. Let's look at that pass interception by Carl Braisley one more time.
If you want to see a pretty play, have a look at this, because Carl Braisley uses all his experience and timing to come up with the interception. Dunnigan kind of wobbled the ball a little bit, and that allowed Braisley to step in front and do his thing.
And nobody was going to catch him. The Argos will be ready to kick it off when we come back. They lead it 17-7. He's from Bishop's University in Lennoxville, Quebec. Back with him is number 74, Chris Woods. He's from Auburn University in Alabama. And kicking it off is Hank Olisic. He's out of high school in Edmonton, Alberta. So you talk about Canadian football, that's what you have. Chris Woods allows it to bounce in the end zone, picks it up, and he'll concede the single point. So the Argos go out in front by 11.
Hey, I'll give Hank Olisic a lot of credit on that one. At the last second, Chris Woods and Chris Skinner tried to switch positions, so Hank would kick it, of course, to Chris Woods. He saw it as he approached the football and made a little switch, and they get a single point. Once again, another look at Carl Braisley, and that is perfect timing, and 41 yards later, Carl's got a touchdown.
Carl's had a great year, as you know, Leaf and Pat, and especially that opening game against Edmonton. Obilovich extremely high on his work this year.
That, incidentally, was his 4th interception of the season as Matt Dunnigan goes back to work. And he's not afraid. He goes right back to Brian Kelly. But they rule that he was out of bounds.
Had that ball not been thrown high and away as it was, Carl Braisley might have had number 2. There you see Matt Dunnigan checking his wrist, keeps all the plays that he uses on a little short list for certain situations on his wrist, and referring to it now on 2nd and 10.
And Carl Braisley has got to be pleased at the start that he's had to this ball game, but it's a long way from being over. 18-7. We've played only 9 minutes of this first quarter. Dunnigan's pass is picked out by the Argos. Darrell Wilson, number 13. And Braisley threw the block that enabled him to get to the 30-yard line.
But he fumbled it.
Well, the Eskimos get a bit of a break there because on the return, Darrell Wilson coughed up the football.
Well, let's have a look. Looky, Rick House. It goes right through his hands, and Darrell Wilson's Johnny on the spot with the interception. Let's see how that ball comes loose on the return. Yeah, stripped.
And so
Rod Conop stripped that ball loose, and the Edmonton Eskimos make the recovery.
And it doesn't cost the Eskimos anything because they start back at their 35 again. On the draw, Milson Jones was tripped up by Walter Ballard initially, number 79. There is a marker on the field.
And that's what they're going to call, I'm sure, Walter Ballard for tripping. You don't see this call too often, but as he was lying on the ground, Milson Jones overtopped, and he stuck his leg out and tripped him.
And we're not going to see it called here either because it's holding against the Eskimos.
Oh, really?
Holding, Edmonton, number 63. Decline, second down.
I can't believe it. They could call both.
Heck Poitier, number 63, was called for holding, and there's no question that Ballard did trip him.
Fooled me again.
So because they lost a yard on the play, the Argos decline the penalty, make it 2nd and 11 Eskimos. Dunnigan's pass is caught by Marco Sincar about a yard short of the first down. Darrell Wilson, number 13, was providing the defensive coverage. That's only the 8th pass reception of the year for Marco Sincar, but it's an important one because now the Eskimos, were they so inclined, could gamble, but they're going to punt it away.
And you see the look of frustration on Marco's face there as he comes off the field. He knows he should have gone another couple of yards to pick up that first down. That reception means nothing because they got to kick the football away.
All right, now you were a receiver. Let me ask you this. Do you think maybe he forgot that it was 2nd and 11 as opposed to 2nd and 10?
You don't forget. Every time, I tell you what, here's what I did when I was a player. When I'd go in the huddle, I'd be saying to myself, it's either 1st and 10, 1st and 5, 2nd and 15. I'd know the situation before the play was even called, so that wouldn't happen.
Dixon's punt. An end-over-end job that bounces to Jan Carinci. And Carinci fights his way over the 25 to the 27-yard line before John Daly was there, number 44, to bring him down.
Leaf, we always used to say when you were playing how unusual you were.
Well, should the single point awarded for a missed field goal be eliminated? Yes, said 64% of our callers a week ago. No, 36%. Now, this week's poll, should the CFL team rosters increase the number of Canadians? If you want to vote yes, you dial 1-900-720-3720. If you don't think they should increase the number of Canadians, vote no, 1-900-720-4720. There is a 50-cent service charge.
Were you surprised by the opinion poll last week? The elimination of the single point?
I forget if I was surprised or not. Was I?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I wasn't surprised at all.
No, I wasn't either.
I think most people would like to see
How
the
do you
single
feel-
point eliminated.
How do you feel about the Canadians?
No, I like the way the roster is made up right now.
Well, I personally think they need a bigger roster, and
I
I'd like
agree
to
with
see
you,
them
Bill.
go to Canadians, frankly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just a financial problem with a lot of teams adding a few players to the roster.
I know, but the question is, should they add more Canadians to the roster? Do we keep the roster the same size and eliminate some imports and add Canadians, or do we increase the roster size by adding Canadians?
I'm assuming they mean increase the roster.
I would assume increase the roster size with extra Canadians.
So the Argos start from their 27-yard line with an 11-point lead here late in the first quarter. The pass is complete to Jan Carinci, and he has a first down as he gets to the 40-yard line. Cliff Toney, number 6, was there to bring him down. The pickup is 12. It's going to be interesting to see the passing statistics for Mark Cassell. He is 6 for 6 at this moment, 79 yards and 1 touchdown.
And you know what they've all been is nice, safe passes. You keep drives going. Here, just out in the flat to Jan Carinci, only a 5-yard pass, but he turns it into a first down.
Cassell complete to Kerry Taylor. And Taylor spins his way for about 6 or 7 yards before he runs into the arms of the cornerback on that side, number 5, Mark Jackson. Dan Bass was there to help out as well.
Let's have a look at Kerry Taylor. All he does is work it upfield, let some of the other receivers clear out and come underneath the linebackers, and that's a good call on first down. He's got 8 yards.
Nice little pick there by Jan Carinci on the defensive back, who was hoping to cover.
That wasn't a pick, was it? They don't do that.
So the pickup was 7 yards. It is 2nd and 3. And the pass is complete for another first down to Thad Jemison. Jemison, a rookie from Ohio State, makes his 6th reception of the year. He's been on and off the roster all season long.
Well, he's a guy that Bob Abilovich feels could really add a dimension to their ball club. He's got outstanding deep speed. They just quite simply haven't got the ball enough to him in the games he's played in. Maybe tonight he'll catch a few more balls.
Picked up a first down with that 12-yard catch. Casal to Carinci, and the ball was just a little bit behind him, and Carinci was not able to make the catch. That's the first incompletion by Mark Casal, who is now 8 for 9 for 98 yards.
Leif, I'd like to ask you about Carinci. As a player, what you think of the way he has been moved around, but more important, the way he keeps performing from a safety to a running back to a slot back. He does them all.
Well, he must be a certain kind of guy to put up with all that stuff, because being transformed from defense to offense is not the easiest thing, and I think his personality must be just that lends itself to that kind of play.
There's a flag down as the pass was caught by Kerry Taylor.
Jan Carinci must be able to go with the flow after being moved around like that so often.
Penalty is against the Argonauts, and here's referee Ross Perrier with the call.
Holding, Toronto number 66.
The call is against Kelvin Prunster, the left offensive tackle. You know, there are, I'm sure as a fan listening at home, there are a number of ways to pronounce various people's names. You've got Carinci. Is it Carinci or Carinci? He pronounces it Carinci, but he really doesn't care what you call him. It's like Louis Pasaglia and Pasaglia. Carinci makes the catch there, but he will not have enough for the first down, as Delorier, number 15, and Bell, 17, converge on him at the, well, let's see where they spot it, at the 47-yard line. Also Dan Ferroni, who pronounces his name Ferroni, but many people call him Ferrone. With the ball at the 47-yard line, Lance Chomick is going to try a 54-yard field goal.
Well, he's got the leg to do it. We watched him in the warm-up, and he can get it down that far. Not this one, though.
This one rolls into the end zone, and the Eskimos are content to concede the single point. Laurent Delorier went down on one knee, and the Argos lead is now 12 points with 1:25 left to play here in the opening quarter. The Eskimos will have a break after this contest. They don't play for about 13 games. Their next home game is against the Saskatchewan Roughriders Friday, August the 23rd. And we'll have it for you here on Friday Night Football on CTV, starting at 7:30 Edmonton time.
Boy, when I played for Saskatchewan, what a rivalry that was. In the mid-70s, Ron Lancaster against Tom Wilkinson, George Reed against Jim Germany. Oh, boy.
From the 47-yard line, Matt Dunnigan swings it out to Milson Jones. And Jones did an excellent job as he gets to the 53-yard line. He picks up 6, but for a moment, it appeared as though he was going to be nailed back at the line of scrimmage. Dennis Clay finally made the tackle along with Rodney Harding, number 77. Harding is a newcomer to that Toronto Argonaut defensive alignment. He's their left defensive end.
Leif, you were talking about the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the rivalry with Edmonton. We were talking the other day, and Jackie Parker was saying, doesn't matter where you go, but when Saskatchewan's playing, suddenly areas that used to be the fans for Edmonton or Toronto or Ottawa, they turn into Saskatchewan fans. There are more Saskatchewan people around the CFL that turn out to cheer the Riders when they're in town than any other team that there is in this league.
Boy, that's for sure, Bill. When I played in Saskatchewan for 4 years, every city we'd go to, I couldn't believe when we go out in the warm-up and look up in the stands, there'd always be a group of Saskatchewan fans wherever we were, and it's unbelievable.
Well, they're great football fans. It's as simple as that. I mean, if you're from Saskatchewan, you've been brought up with the Rough Riders, and if you happen to leave Regina, you'll move, you'll go when they're in town. There's a look at the Eastern Conference standings. You see how important this game is to the Argos. They could move into a tie for first place with Montreal, pending the outcome of the Concords game against the Stampeders in Calgary on Sunday. And in the West, well, the BC Lions, head coach Don Matthews, general manager Bobby Ackles have to be delighted at the way their team is performing. 5-0, but this is a big game for the Eskimos because they are currently tied with Winnipeg for second spot. And a big game tomorrow night in Regina, where the Saskatchewan Roughriders host Hamilton. Neil Lumsden just bowls his way down to the Toronto 45-yard line. He has another Eskimo first down, and that comes with just 40 seconds left to play in this first quarter. It's been a dandy. The Argos have been really, really sharp after the Eskimos took the opening offensive drive and scored the touchdown on the pass from Matt Dunnigan to Chris Woods. Bob Obilovich, well, he's under a little bit of heat, but I'll tell you, this man knows the CFL. And by the time this season is over, I suspect the Argos will be very close to the top. Again, Lumsden, the ball carrier, to the 41-yard line for a pickup of 4 before he runs into Walter Ballard, number 79.
Well, it's not surprising that Edmonton would try and get that rushing game going. They lead the CFL with over 800 yards rushing so far this season. In fact, lead the entire CFL in total offense. But they've got that big veteran offensive line and some good running backs in Larry Cowan, Neil Lumsden, and Milson Jones. So why not try and establish that running game?
And second down and 6. With the ball at the 41, Dunnigan is going to put it up. Does. And Cowan is hit the moment that he got the ball by Bo Metcalf at the 35-yard line. And he'll be very close to the first down as the gun sounds to end the first quarter of play. The Toronto Argonauts lead the Edmonton Eskimos 19-7. We'll return with the second quarter in a moment. The play with a first down at the Argo 35. The pass into the middle to Milson Jones. Don Moan, Walter Ballard, and a host of Argos were there to bring him down at the 32-yard line. Let's take a look at the Chevrolet first quarter statistics, and you can see what an offensive ball game this has been. 141 yards for the Argos, 131 for the Eskimos. Argos out in front 19-7. Matt Dunnigan, who broke the Louisiana Tech passing record of Terry Bradshaw, at the controls for the Edmonton Eskimos on 2nd and 4. Toss goes to Cowan. And boy, was there some contact there. Walter Ballard, Don Moan, they were there to drill him before he could get to the first down marker. He's about a yard and a half short.
Rick House has just gone back in the lineup, as you noticed, Pat. The reason he was out for the sequence of plays previous was the fact he took a finger in the eye, but it's all right now.
Well, the Eskimos initially sent Tom Dixon out onto the field, but they've decided against the field goal, and they're going to go for it. They've got a yard and a half to go for the first down.
Well, it's a big gamble here.
That's Parker-style football. He played that
Reckless.
way.
Dunnigan takes it himself, and he has the first down for the Eskimos. You know, that's what the coaching staff loves about Matt Dunnigan, though. They say he's such a competitor. You know, he's a tough guy. When you look at him, he looks like an altar boy. But apparently, he's really got the kind of stuff you need to be a leader on a football team.
Well, and each week, he's really becoming more accustomed to the Canadian game. He's good on the rollouts, either throwing or running with the football, and he really gives the Eskimos that added dimension of a versatile quarterback.
4th leading rusher in the Canadian Football League coming into this ball game. Just having a terrific year. He's 2nd leading passer in the CFL. And this time the pass is caught by Chris Woods at the 11-yard line. It'll be another first down for the Eskimos. Bo Metcalf knocked him out of bounds, but the gain is 12 yards.
You were talking, Leaf, about Matt Dunnigan. He says that he feels more comfortable now, more confident in everything he's doing because of experience.
Well, it is experience. You get to read defenses for a couple of years. You kind of know what they're going to do and what you can anticipate of doing against them. And he's done that very well this year so far.
This has been another nice-looking drive that he has engineered. First down, Eskimos at the Toronto 11. Nice bootleg by Dunnigan. He should be able to get in there. Touchdown, Edmonton. Just as he crossed the line, the ball came out of his hands, but there was no doubt about it. He was in the end zone.
great play this is. They fake on the slot back trap play, and Dunnigan's all alone, gets a bit of a block from Brian Kelly down here and Milson Jones, and squirts his way into the end zone.
And we've got an injured Toronto Argonaut. I believe it's Don Moan, number 36, is it? Yes, it is. He's kneeling down at the Toronto goal area.
But you know, they had Toronto coming on a total blitz there, and when they faked inside, it just seemed to freeze everybody. And of course, when Matt Dunnigan rolled to the outside, he had so much open room, and except for the last few yards, pretty easy waltz into the end zone.
Nice looking drive engineered by Matt Dunnigan. How about his statistics to this point, Bob Layden? He's 6 for 10, 125 yards. Had a couple of interceptions, however. One didn't hurt him, the other one killed him because Carl Brazeley returned it for a touchdown. But Darrell Wilson intercepted and then fumbled the ball right at the point where Dunnigan had begun the play. So Tom Dixon will try to cut the Argonaut margin to 5 points. And he does. So we've got a 19-14 ball game, and let's take a look at Matt Dunnigan, who to me is the biggest news the Eskimos have been able to recruit in the last number of years. That's the score. We'll be back in a moment. Dunnigan making an impression on the Canadian Football League in this his second full year of activity.
And I suspect he's getting some congratulations on the phone right now from Steve Goldman, who is the offensive coordinator up in the press box. And sure, he said, nice going, Matt. You put a heck of a drive together.
Well, if he hasn't attained the status yet, to me, he's the next superstar in the Canadian Football League. You're looking at a fellow who will win some Shenley Awards down the line. Jemison with the return for Toronto started at his 2-yard line and ran into Larry Ruck, who did a good job to bring him down just as he crossed the 20.
Well, that's not surprising. We're seeing a good offensive display by both teams. In the opener, they had over 1,000 yards total offense between them. They could sure move the football in a hurry.
Well, you know, a lot of people said, oh, the Eskimos are just going to clean up on them here tonight.
Yeah, I heard that around town.
And they may well do before the game is over, but it's been a great one to this point.
I like him about that because of the lacing they took at the hands of BC and all the changes they've made, the inconsistency.
Cassell threw it right into Stuart Hill's hands, and but for the fact that he was tripped up as he got to about the 5-yard line, he'd have gone into the end zone. Cassell threw it right into Stu Hill's hands, and he marches it all the way down to the Toronto 6.
Well, he just simply looking for Bob Brock, doesn't see Stuart Hill, although he's right in front of him. And had it not been for the little turf monster that comes up and grabs him right there, Stuart Hill would have scored.
I think that's what you call tunnel vision. He was so intent on looking at Bob Brock.
That's a very good description of what happened.
So now the Eskimos are in position to take the lead. They trail by 5 points, 19-14, and we have just begun play here in the second quarter. But it's first down, Edmonton touchdown to go at the Toronto 6-yard line. Neil Lumsden, the ball carrier, gets a couple of yards. Mark Seal, James Curry, James Reed, they were all in there to bring him down.
It's a situation now where the Toronto defense is really guessing because Matt Dunnigan can do so many things. He can hand off to the running back, throw, or, you know, he's so good on that bootleg action. Defensively, it's a tough position to be in right now.
You know, Matt Dunnigan to me is reminiscent a little bit of Russ Jackson, who would always bootleg in this situation. Although on this occasion he gives it to Neil Lumsden for the touchdown. But what I was going to say is that Jackson would bootleg and score on every play, and I'm not sure that Dunnigan couldn't do the same himself. But why not go the easy way, hand it to the big fullback, and Lumsden, who has done this so often over the years, just won't be denied that end zone.
Yeah, nice hole created on that left side, and of course Neil Lumsden knows what to do with the football when he's only 2 yards away from a touchdown.
There's Jackie Parker. When you ask him, you say, what's been the big improvement with your club this year? He says, offensive line. Have they ever played well?
Well, they're a veteran group. Bill Stevenson, 12 years. A lot of experience on that offensive line.
The point after by Tom Dixon is good. And so with 11:33 left to play in the second quarter, the Edmonton Eskimos have taken the lead 21-19 over the Toronto Argonauts.
Cushion, and his place has been taken by Dan Rasevich.
Well, these teams are playing true to form. The Argos have given up the most points in the CFL coming into this week. Edmonton the second most. Already we've had 40 points scored in this ball game, and we've only played 3 minutes and a little bit of this second quarter. Pat Jemison had to hit him on the foot, so he's got to take it now. And Jemison gets to about the 12-yard line. What he wanted to do was allow the ball to bounce in the end zone and then give up the single point, but there is a penalty marker on the field in any event.
You know, it's funny, Pat, we have microphones down at field level, and every once in a while you can pick up some of the things that the players are saying, and you could hear Jeff Townsend saying, let it go, let it go. And by the time Jemison realized what he wanted to do, it hit his foot, and so he had to make a play on the football. Terry?
But it will not hurt the Argos because the penalty is against the Eskimos, offside.
Oh, that's a big break.
Last week, the Toronto Argonauts were the subject of great booing from the fans, especially the coach, because with a rookie quarterback, Cassell, Obilovich had them every time the ball was kicked into the end zone, taking or giving the single point and trying to get the better field position rather than only getting to the 5 or the 10. The fans were extremely unhappy with it as they gave away 5 or 6 points that way. This time, though, he feels a little more experience for Cassell, a different football club. He is not playing it that way, or at least not thus far.
Well, I thought he wanted to on that occasion, Bill, but
well, you might be right, Pat.
Jemison had it bounce off his foot. Dixon kicks this one, and it'll go out of bounds, so there'll be another 5-yard penalty. No point in the Argos taking it at the 27-yard line. Make him kick off again back at the 35 this time.
Now, you're a kicker, Leaf. Dixon.
I was a kicker.
Well, all right. You kick a fair amount now, too.
Yeah,
but anyway. By the way, the poll, should the CFL team rosters increase the number of Canadians? Yes. Phone 1-900-720-3720. No, 1-900-720-4720. There's a service charge of 50 cents. What I was going to say, however, about kicking is Dixon feels that his kicking ability has come about because he first started playing rugby in Vancouver. It's a bigger, fatter football. So the transition from rugby to Canadian football, he says, helped me tremendously in becoming a Canadian Football League punter and field goal kicker.
Well, he really gets his leg into this one. This is Kerry Taylor from his 15. Excuse me, that's Jemison, not Taylor. Jemison got out to the 38-yard line, and that's where the Argos will take over offensively.
Well, Mark Cassell just had something awful happen to him on the last series with that interception to Stuart Hill. He's got to gather himself and try and get that confidence back, not only within himself, but within the receivers, and try and spread that football around, and a couple of short passes maybe once again, and try and reestablish that momentum that they've lost.
Well, Cassell is from Montclair State. It's not a football powerhouse, but he set all the passing records at that school. Boy, had a lot of time on that occasion. Now he's flushed out of there. Fires, and a good catch by Terry Greer for what appears to be a first down up around the 49-yard line.
The thing we haven't pointed out, and has to be pointed out, is the big blow for the Argonauts, and the reason a club that was rated as #1 in this league and has won first place the last 3 years is that they lost a quarterback named Condredge Holloway, who had a 70.6 passing percentage, which is just tremendous before injuring that knee.
First down, Argos. Cassell this time in a lot of trouble. Coughs the ball up, but they rule an incompleted pass. Ooh, that is a big break for the Argos. Stuart Hill and John Mandridge had him well back of the line of scrimmage, but they rule that he was trying to throw the football to Bob Bronk, and so it just goes as an incomplete forward pass.
That's a good call. Arm was definitely coming through. Good pressure, though, from that Edmonton front three plus Stuart Hill. Well, he comes every time as a linebacker. You'll see him blitz on almost every play.
2nd and 10, Argos at their own 49. Looking for Thad Jemison on the sideline, but the pass was well out of bounds. Jeff Treflin was in there as the defensive back covering on the play. And this will be Hank Olisic's first punt of the ball game, and it comes with 10 minutes left to play in this second quarter.
Argos seemed to have deviated from their initial game plan, where in the first quarter they were hitting those 7-8 yard passes on first down to try and get some good yardage initially. Now Casal content to drop back in that pocket and look a little farther downfield. I'm not sure he shouldn't go back to the original plan.
Chris Woods showing a lot of respect is back at his 5-yard line. This one bounces at the 23 to Woods, who takes it at the 15. And he's forced out of bounds as he gets to the 25 by Dennis Clay. So the Edmonton Eskimos have really fought back here. They were trailing at one point 19-7. Now they lead it 21-19 with 9 minutes and 43 seconds left to play in this second quarter in what has really been an entertaining football game. Eskimos have scored all the points here in the second quarter. And Edmonton starts at their 25-yard line with a first down. Dunnigan could not find anybody open, and by the time he brought it down, he was sacked by James Curry, number 74, for a loss of a couple of yards. Second sack of the ball game for that Toronto Argonaut defense. And the second one by James Curry.
Now they're getting some good pressure from that front four. I like that defense. 4 good pass rushers and those 3 linebackers behind him. I'm I guess a traditionalist, and I think you can get some much better pressure with that 4 down lineman.
And we're talking about Walter Ballard, James Curry, Mark Seal, and Rod Harding. That's the front 4 for Toronto. Dunnigan's pass was batted down by Rod Harding, number 77. Also a penalty marker holding against the Eskimos. It'll be declined by the Argos, and Edmonton will be punting.
Holding. Edmonton number 59. Declined. 3rd down.
Leo Blanchard, the right guard, called for holding. There you see him right at the middle of your picture.
Hey, that's a good move by Rodney Harding. If you can't get the sack, get the big mid up there, and something good might happen. In that case, you knock the ball down.
So Tom Dixon will be punting. Standing inside his 10-yard line. Carinci and Kerry Taylor, 27 and 20, back to return it for Toronto, who should end up with excellent field position. Good punt, though. Angles it toward the sideline. Now, where did it go out of bounds? Somewhere around the 45-yard line.
It's a great job by Tom Dixon. Got full length on that punt and no return.
Edmonton 21, Toronto 19. The Argos will have the ball when we come back.
But it's not as much fun as playing. Maybe because his handicap in golf now is 12 instead of about 3 or 4.
But you're right. What a football player he was. The football player of the quarter century. He was selected as Mark Casal is pushed out of bounds by Stuart Hill. The booing that you heard was directed toward a police officer who was throwing some youngster out of the end zone. There it is again. The pickup by Casal was about 7 yards as he got it out to the 51-yard line. So it brings up a 2nd and 3, Toronto. The Argos trailing it by 2 points. Mark Casal came into this ball game with a 61% completion record. He's thrown 4 touchdown passes. This is Kerry Taylor. And Taylor cut it back nicely to pick up the first down as he crosses midfield into Edmonton territory at the 53. James Bell, number 17, was there to bring him down. And, you know, when you talk about that Edmonton secondary, they're very inexperienced as well. Speaking with defensive secondary coach Don Southern, he was saying they don't have a lot of experience, but, boy, are they intense, and do they love to play the game and pop people.
Well, they're the kind of coachable players you want to have that. And Don Southern's a good one to coach them.
Jemison did not hang on. Jeff Treflin was there on the coverage.
It appears we'll get a new quarterback when the Eskimos get the ball next time. Dunnigan was shaken up, and the doctor is still working with him. We've not had a report yet, but Allen is getting ready to go, and he is starting to warm up the arm, and he's talking to the coaches, so it'll obviously be number 9, Allen, who will take over at quarterback.
Damon Allen, who really has unbelievable university stats. Well, the big guy, Mark Cassell, did a pretty good job of tiptoeing through the defensive line that was on rushing there. He doesn't pick up the first down, but he wasn't sacked either. And there's a look at Damon Allen. I think it runs pretty well in the family, doesn't it, this football stuff?
Sure does. His older brother Marcus, of course, with the Los Angeles Raiders, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, but Pat talked about his university statistics at Cal State Fullerton, and in his senior year, a 53% passer, but was really impressive was only 3 interceptions and 20 touchdown passes. So you know he can direct an offense with some efficiency.
Hank Olisic's punt will bounce out of bounds at about the 18-yard line, and that's where Damon Allen will have to come on and direct that Edmonton offense.
Well, the latest story that we have on Dunnigan is that he has been shaken up a bit. As you can see, they're going to put an ice pack just around the neck on him, and Dr. Peter Boucher tells me that he won't be back in this half, but he says I think he should be able to return in the second half. We'll just wait and see how he comes along.
Well, this is a tough spot for Damon Allen, but it's also a real opportunity for him to show the coaching staff that he can play in this league. And his first pass is complete to Cowan, who picks up the first down as he dives through to the 30-yard line. Dennis Clay brought him down, but a good job by Larry Cowan to pick up 12 yards.
Well, he threw a couple of touchdown passes in last year's Senior Bowl, and that's a very prestigious postseason all-star game in the United States. A lot of top college football players who would be drafted played in that game, and as you can see on his first delivery, nice tight spiral.
So the Eskimos have possession now at their 30-yard line. Allen fires. It's complete to Rick House, and House will have another first down to the 45-yard line.
Hey, that's some kind of throw right there. Rick House running an excellent pattern in that zone coverage. A hook worked between the linebackers, and Damon Allen read it perfectly. Watch how he drills that ball in there. That's a great throw.
So back-to-back first downs for the Eskimos. Compliments of the passing of Damon Allen. They have possession now at their own 45 with a first down. This one was right on the money, too, except that the money happened to be in Dennis Clay's wallet, and he very nearly picked it off, looking for Rick House once again.
Now, the things a young quarterback's going to be frustrated with. Dennis Clay actually right on the hip of Rick House. Perfect defensive position. Steps in front and really should have had the interception.
But, you know, you have to admire the Edmonton Eskimo organization. They're like the BC Lions. They're solid at every position. Somebody goes down, somebody else comes in, you know, who can really do the job.
They plan ahead.
So it is 2nd and 10, Edmonton, from their 45. And this one is picked off by Darrell Wilson, his second interception of the ball game. The ball came free once again, but they ruled he was down right at midfield. 3 interceptions for that Toronto Argonauts secondary, 2 by Darrell Wilson, 1 by Carl Brazeley.
Now, really back-to-back plays show the inexperience of Damon Allen. A ball that should not been thrown. He had really no open receiver, should have eaten the football, and just the worst would have to do is punt, but nevertheless, he let it fly, and Darrell Wilson comes up with a big play.
And so with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in this first half, Argos trailing by 2. They take over right at midfield. The middle screen for Kerry Taylor, but it was read very well by the Edmonton Eskimos, and they contain it to just a 2 or 3 yard gain. And we've got an injured Toronto Argonaut down on the field. I believe it's the center, Ian Beckstead. It is.
Well, that Stuart Hill is some kind of football player. Last year's Western nominee as Shenley Outstanding Rookie in the Canadian Football League, and he just read that screenplay so quickly, coming initially on his pass rush, but he came off the block and made a great play to stop Kerry Taylor from going any further.
Tom Trefo will come onto the field now with Ian Beckstead down. Tony Antunovic will move to center from his right guard spot. And
So, Pat,
Trefo will move to the guard position.
Pat, you talked about Edmonton, how they really plan ahead with their player personnel. And, you know, they had Ken Hobart, of course, in training camp this year, but saw the talent of a young Damon Allen and, of course, let Hobart go. They traded him to Hamilton. As it's turned out, Hobart has turned into a pretty good quarterback with that big win they had last week over the Montreal Concords. But they do have quality people that sure come in and out of Edmonton. Let's have a look and see if we can pick up. There you see Kerry Taylor just scoring right on the knee of Ian Beckstead. He got that leg trapped underneath Kerry Taylor.
The pickup on the play was about 2.5 yards, so the Argos are now in Edmonton territory at the 53-yard line.
Pat, if Cassell continues to have problems moving this club, there's no question that Hohensee, his backup, will come in. Well, Bilovich said that last week he rather hesitated to bring Hohensee in. He wanted to leave Cassell in as long as he could and keep him under fire, at least give him the experience, although BC is a tough club to get your experience again. What he said before this game, he said, if Cassell is unable to move it, Hohensee will go in, and he said, and I've got confidence in him.
Well, Cassell has actually done a pretty good job, with the exception of that one pass that he threw right into Stuart Hill's arms down around the Toronto 15. But next Friday night we'll be in Montreal, and that should be a big game for both the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Concords, because there isn't likely to be too many points separating them at that point as they battle for first place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, you and I have been talking about that game for a few weeks. We've been looking forward to it. Next Friday night.
So on second, and let's call it 7 yards to go, Cassell is going to put it up, or is he? There's a flag down. Cassell has the first down as he gets to the Edmonton 41-yard line, but the penalty is going to wipe out that play. They'll bring it back. Tom Tuanay was there to bring him down.
Yeah, Mark Cassell showing some mobility as he scrambles out of that pocket. A good rushing effort. Nevertheless, it will be brought back on that holding call.
There's no question the biggest thing as far as the Edmonton. I'm just saying the biggest thing as far as Edmonton's concerned, the one loss has been Joe Holloman, that veteran corner. Don Southern, who's in charge of those defensive backs, he says he was my babysitter, 10 years experience, and all the other guys a year or less. And so it's tough when you lose your babysitter.
Incidentally, Kelvin Prunster, the left offensive tackle, was called for holding, and now Cassell drops the football, and the Eskimos have recovered it. Dan Kearns, number 95, comes up with the fumble recovery. Stuart Hill stripped the ball. Kearns was there to fall on it.
Well, Stuart Hill's one of those kind of guys that can make things happen on defense, and made a great play on a screen a few plays ago, and that time stripped the ball loose. And once again, the Edmonton Eskimos have excellent field position after that turnover.
And they've got lots of time to go here in this second quarter to capitalize on it. 3 minutes, 15 seconds left to play in the first half. The offensive and defensive game stars will be selected by our broadcast crew, and we'll tell you who they are at the conclusion of the ball game. Rick House on that little counter play doesn't get very much, if anything. So we've got 3 minutes left to play in this first half of a very entertaining ball game. The Eskimos are out in front of the Argos, 21-19. The temperature at kickoff time was 31 degrees Celsius, and I guess that's about 86 or something.
It's tough to tell, and I've never figured that Celsius out yet.
Second down, about 10 yards to go. Allen looks and throws incomplete, looking for Rick House, but Bo Metcalf was with him all the way. Metcalf sounds familiar. Bo Metcalf is a nephew of former Toronto Argonaut and St. Louis Cardinal star Terry Metcalf.
This will be a good test for Tom Dixon right here. He's going to be spotted at the 47-yard line.
I have been told, and have no knowledge other than what I've been informed, that Dixon is very accurate from 40 yards in. Let's see what he does now from the 47.
Get out of there. No way. No way.
It hits the upright. Boy, he certainly had all kinds of distance. But it hit the upright. There will be no point, and the Argos will take over at the 25. Bill, what's the status of Ian Beckstead, the Argo center?
He hurt his knee. At first they thought it was twisted, but now Dr. Jackson says it is a bruise, and so he'll be able to go back into the game at center.
But at this moment, of course, he will sit out as the Argos begin from their 25. Tony Antunovic, number 54, will replace Beckstead. And Tom Trefo is in at right guard in place of Antunovic. On the draw, this is Bob Bronk. He drops the football, but it's picked up very alertly by Dan Ferroni.
Almost looked like a handoff. Dan Ferroni, he knew what to do with the football when he got a hold of it. Let's have a look here. Open a good hole with Tony Antunovic on the left side for Bob Bronk to run through. He just simply drops the football. Dan Ferroni ever alert to pick it up.
Ferroni will want that play in the playbook now. Looked like he loved carrying it. Pickup was 8 yards at 2nd and 2. Flag comes down as the toss goes to Kerry Taylor. And we've probably got a procedure penalty against the Toronto Argonauts. And it looked like Jan Karinci left a little early.
Yeah, just trying to get a jump on things. He had to block the outside linebacker to make that play work. And Jan Karinci a little overeager. It's going to cost Toronto 5 yards. Cost them a first down as well.
Offside, Toronto number 27.
And wearing number 27 is Jan Karinci. So with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left to play in this second quarter, the Argos now have 2nd and 7 yards to go for the first down. Ball is back inside their 28-yard line. And this is Mike Hohensee at quarterback. His pass was complete, but well short of the first down, as Laurent Delorier was over there very quickly to put the grab on Paul Pearson. Hohensee has played in the USFL from the University of Minnesota and played some last week against the British Columbia Lions. So Hank Olisic will be punting on 3rd and about 5 yards to go with Chris Woods, the lone back there for the Eskimos.
Game's kind of slowed down the last 10 minutes or so. Both defenses taking charge here, and it's turned into a putting battle between Hank Olisic and Tom Dixon.
And he gets a beauty away. Woods takes it at his 28. Gets up over the 40 to about the 42-yard line. Well, we had 40 points scored very early, and we still have 40 points with 1:33 left to play in this second quarter. The CFL this week, the Pacific Western Airlines CFL Stars of the week. And Leaf and I will have the highlights for you. All of that upcoming at halftime. Really looking forward to going out to Calgary, hoping that the Stampeders can get their club turned around before too much longer. Those of you out in Calgary on Sunday, get out there and take a look at the Montreal Concords, because boy are they improved.
I hope it warms up.
Yeah, apparently it's been fairly chilly. Allen really airs this one out to Chris Woods. Bo Metcalf had perfect coverage on him and very nearly made the interception.
He's in great position there. Bo Metcalf could have had the interception, as Pat told you, but can't play that any better than that. But I think Damon Allen's thinking on that play, well, to get an interception, it's as good as a punt, because I've aired that thing out about as far as I can throw it.
That's some arm he's got, isn't it?
Oh, he's got a strong gun there.
As Leaf pointed out at Cal State Fullerton, he set 8 individual school marks last year, and he's the man that they attribute for turning that football program around. We're talking about Damon Allen, number 9, the quarterback in place of Matt Dunnigan, who is injured. Dumps it over the middle to Nelson Jones. He loses the football, but the Eskimos get it back right at the 45-yard line.
Pat, for Edmonton fans that may have joined us late, Matt got a bit of a hit on the side of the head, and he's just got an ice pack on the back of the head now. He's going to be fine, and the likelihood is he'll come back in the second half if they need him.
Let's have a look again. And sorry, Pat. Milson Jones catch the ball over the middle. Stripped loose by number 39, Bill Mitchell, and they're very fortunate that number 50, Blake Dermott, was able to recover that.
So Tom Dixon is in the punt once again for the Eskimos. Karinci and Taylor are back awaiting at the Toronto 20. As you can see, he's had a pretty good night punting, averaging 44 yards a boot. This is Carinci at the 20. Trying to get to the outside and then has to cut it back up. Think he's got a little determination. Gets it out over the 30 to about the 33-yard line. He was down when he surrendered the ball, and they rule that Toronto will have possession at that point.
Oh, he just does a heck of a job. He's a guy that's got fierce determination, cuts it upfield, and he just doesn't want to go down. Sometimes discretion, the better part of valor. He's going to take a heck of a shot from Neil Lumsden right there, but he gets Toronto in pretty good field position.
They call players of his ilk gamers, and there's no question about it. Jan Carinci will give you everything he's got in every game that he plays. The flag comes down as Hohensy's pass goes incomplete. Holding Toronto.
Dan Ferroni certainly pleading his case right there that
I don't like his chances of
no,
winning.
I don't like them
Holding.
either.
Toronto 69, declined, second down.
Says I have to. I got a bad hamstring.
Mark Cassell was yanked out of the ball game after he had completed 11 of 16 for 125 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 very costly interception. But then again, Matt Dunnigan had a costly interception too that was returned for a touchdown by Carl Brazeley. Hohensee was grabbed. He was going to try the quarterback draw. But Dan Kearns was there to put the grab on him immediately.
Would have been a great call had he got a little seam to run through, but Dan Kearns got the big bit out there and stopped him.
Eskimos want to get a timeout. They're signaling frantically from the bench.
And they do get it because referee Ross Perrier has just indicated it is Edmonton timeout with 43 seconds left. So they're going to get the football back, and depending upon the return by Chris Woods, they might be in a position to put some more points on the board as Damon Allen talks things over with Kelly. Brian Kelly has been fairly quiet here tonight. Let's just take a look. He's only caught 1 pass for 17 yards. And is that a little bit unusual? Because coming into the game, Brian had 24 receptions, 3 touchdowns for 414 yards.
How about this for a lineup tomorrow?
The AMA National Motorcycle Championships, the Dream Mile. You want to talk about people that you want to watch run a foot race over a mile course? Well, how does this sound? Steve Cram of Great Britain, Steve Scott of the USA, and Sebastian Coe. And the rest of the lineup that you will see tomorrow on Wide World of Sports here on CTV. The clock will not start until the snap of the ball. 43 seconds left to play in the half. Chris Woods allows it to bounce at the 40, takes it at the 35, and has absolutely no place to go. But the Eskimos have possession with 32 seconds left to play in the half. Mike Hohensee is talking things over with Conrad Holloway, saying, I don't know if I like this league or not. Yeah. Well, our director, Ed Murcell, suggests maybe they're talking about the mile run. Before this night is over, I suspect if Mike Hohensee is the quarterback, he's going to be running about a mile. Because the Eskimos appear to really be coming on. Allen swings it out to his running back, Larry Cowan. And Cowan doesn't quite make it back to the line of scrimmage before Dennis Clay is there to bring him down.
Boy, Dennis Clay's had himself an excellent first half. A couple of knockdowns, and that time just a great open field tackle on a slippery back like Larry Cowan.
Cowan actually ends up losing yards, so it's 2nd and 11. And the clock is moving now with just 15 seconds left to play in this first half. It started out at an unbelievable pace. Both teams moving up and down the field, and early in the second quarter there had been 40 points scored. Since then, nothing. Now the Argos decide that maybe they should call a timeout. For what reason, I don't know, because there's only 3 seconds left to play.
Well, I know why they're going to call a timeout, because the clock will not start until the ball is snapped, and that means they technically maybe force Edmonton to punt the ball instead of letting it run down, the quarterback just downing it.
Well, that's a good observation, because obviously that's what they're Of course, with 3 seconds to go.
Well, quarterback could still take it from center and run around, but at least what this does is make Jackie Parker make a decision.
Allen is over on the sideline right now talking it over with Jackie Parker.
Yeah, I suspect he could run around for 3 seconds back there.
They could have a direct snap to either the quarterback or the punter or whatever they wanted. It's a 21-19 ball game in favor of the Eskimos. Bob Obilovich was pleased at one point because his Argonauts led at 19-7. But the Eskimos have scored all the points here in the second quarter, 14 of them, and now they lead it by 2 points. So Allen just stands there, and that's the end of the first half. It's the Edmonton Eskimos 21, the Toronto Argonauts 19, in a game that's extremely important to both teams. Eskimos trying to move into sole possession of second spot in the Western Conference standings. They are currently deadlocked with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Argos are trying to move into a tie for first with the Montreal Concords. Bill?
Well, here's a man who was all everything in his rookie year. He was CFL All-Pro. He was Western All-Star. He was Shenley Rookie in the West. And you've started off great this year as well, Stuart. And you're having a bang-up first half. You've not only made an interception, but you have caused a couple of fumbles.
Well, we knew that Condridge is gone, but Mark Kinsella is an excellent athlete, so we wanted to try and get a lot of pressure on him. I think we've been doing that. If we can keep him off balance, we should have a good hope of winning.
Tell me, Stuart, how are you making your big plays? Do you read the offense, or are you gambling? How do you do it?
Well, it all started last week. We've been studying film for about 5 hours a day. So we pretty much knew what to expect coming in. We just really had to execute.
So you're just executing and anticipating along the way.
Well, we're working hard, and we know if we can get out of here with a win, we've got a bye coming up next weekend, and we'll be able to heal some injuries that we have on our team, and we should be in pretty good shape.
You must be very pleased with the way the defense, and especially yourself, has played in this first half.
Well, yeah, in the first half, but there's still another half to go, so we just have to keep working hard.
And how do you feel about your first few games of this season, Stuart?
Well, they're not too bad. I'd like to see us with a 5-0 record right now, but that's not to be, so we just have to keep working hard. Hopefully things will work out for us.
You know, Stu, you showed in your game against BC that they, despite the fact they're 5-0, are going to have a tough time the next time they meet you.
Well, we look forward to playing them again. We thought we could have played a little better against them in BC, but that game is over with, and now we just have to concentrate on Toronto.
Well, congratulations on a great rookie year and a fine start in the second season. Good luck in the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart Hill. Fine performance. And so, the score is Edmonton 21, Toronto 19, and this is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Edmonton 181 for the Argos. It's been quite a football game with a half to go. Bill?
I guess the biggest thing as far as the Edmonton Eskimos are concerned is the fact that Matt Dunnigan was shaken up a little bit, and he didn't play for most of the second quarter. However, Damon Hill took over and did quite well, and it appears that Damon Hill is going to be going in this second half of play, which probably is not bad for Edmonton because it means he gets good experience, and that's always great for a football club, especially in the CFL when you know quarterbacks, your first stringers, are going to get shaken up occasionally. And it's awful good to have those 1-2 combinations. As a matter of fact, it means that they can come through with championships. I meant Damon Allen, of course, is the backup quarterback for Edmonton who is going to go back in there and start off this second half. All right, Pat, I think we're ready to go.
Well, thank you, Bill. You know, you were talking about how you need those backup quarterbacks. Let's not forget that Matt Dunnigan was a backup quarterback to, well, the great Warren Moon. Warren Moon was a backup quarterback to the Hall of Famer Tom Wilkinson, who isn't in the hall yet, but certainly will be. So the Eskimos are set to kick it off. Dixon boots it down to Jeff Townsend at his 8-yard line. Ooh, and the Eskimos just came flying down there. Number 37, Dave McNeil, was there to down them inside the Toronto 20-yard line.
Edmonton always does an excellent job on their special teams, and I don't think really ever get credit for it. They make very few mistakes, and that time Dave McNeil spent the last couple of years with the BC Lions. Now with the Edmonton Eskimos, came flying downfield, made an excellent tackle.
Well, it's true, they do. Their special teams have always been effective, with the exception of one game against Ottawa. That was probably the worst game they've had in years. And Ottawa really capitalized on it in that victory by the Rough Riders at Lansdowne Park. Mike Hohensee starts at quarterback in this second half. His pass to a wide-open Paul Pearson. He ducks underneath Jeff Treflin. And Pearson is down to the Eskimo 21-yard line. Finally forced out by Clint Toney, but a 71-yard pass and run play. Mike Hohensee to Paul Pearson, and there was nobody around Pearson at the time that he made the catch.
Well, Jeff Treflin gets caught in coverage there. When the rollout went to the right side, he got caught over there. Paul Pearson sneaks down the seam and just does an excellent job running with the football. Good block there by Terry Greer. 71 yards, and what a way to open the second half for the Toronto Argonauts.
They have the ball at the Edmonton 21-yard line. This is the way the first quarter started, except it was the Eskimos. The pass is caught by Terry Greer at the 11. He'll have another first down. Forced out by Darrell Hall, number 24, the cornerback on that side. Terry, I was just going to say, that's only the third catch of the ball game by Terry Greer.
Well, good ball control offense here. Quick out to Terry Greer, picks up a first down, and back-to-back first downs have the Toronto Argonauts knocking at the door.
Ball is right at the Eskimo 10. Hohensee for Greer, neatly broken up by Darrell Hall. Tell you, if Hohensee had just floated that ball, chances are Greer would have had his 7th touchdown of the season.
Well, you know what so often happens is Mike Hohensee probably doesn't get a chance to run the first team in practice a heck of a lot, and maybe just doesn't realize how much speed Terry Greer has, that he can lay that ball way out in front of him and let Terry go and get it.
We are experiencing problems with the video portion of our transmission. Please do not adjust your set.
Line with a second down. Pass to Carinci. Touchdown, Argonauts. Closest man to him was John Daly, the linebacker from Auburn. You've got to assume that it was his man.
Well, once again, they get that matchup they want. A slot back on a linebacker, as Paul Pearson's touchdown was in the first half. This is exactly the same play to the other side. Only difference, Jan Carinci picks up the TD.
So the Argos take the second half kickoff and march it right into the end zone, and now resume the lead once again.
Boy, Pat, this looks just like an instant replay of the opening of the ballgame.
You're right. The big play, of course, was the pass to Paul Pearson, but here's the touchdown to Jan Carinci. The Argos lead at 26-21, and we'll be back with their kickoff in a moment. Well, there's Paul Pearson, who really did set up that scoring drive because he carried the ball 71 yards on one play. But the Argos only needed 4 plays to get it into the end zone and resume the lead at 26-21. And that Toronto Argonaut Sunshine Girl is obviously pretty delighted at it.
I would say Paul Pearson's hamstring problems are over.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was too bothered on that play.
Always feel good when you're going good.
That's true. Hank Olisic prepares to kick it off for the Argos. Puts it high, not too deep, to Chris Skinner at the 6-yard line. Well, Skinner broke a tackle inside the 20 and got it out to about the... Randy Rabansky was down there, and so too was William Mitchell, number 39. The return was 18 yards by Chris Skinner. And so the Eskimos start right at their 25. This is their first possession of this second half. It was 19-7 at the end of the first quarter, and then it was 21-19 Edmonton at the half. They scored all the points in that second quarter of play, 14 of them. If you've just joined us, Matt Dunnigan was banged on the head, and so Damon Allen is in there as the quarterback. And on his first possession of this third quarter, he picks up a time count violation.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 9. First down repeated.
So he starts now back at his 20-yard line. Allen came in. His first 2 or 3 passes were really great-looking tosses. And then he ran into some problems later in his first drive. That came in the second quarter. He whips this one in there to Rick House. And House has a first down as he carries the ball all the way to the 44-yard line. James Reed, the middle linebacker, number 70, was there to bring him down. But the gain was 25 yards on the pass that was drilled in there to Rick House.
Well, that was a good throw, and like he did in the second quarter, completed a really pretty hook pattern to Rick House. Does it once again.
Well, if you're a cornerback, though, for any defense, you've got to be terrified when you see Brian Kelly on one side, Chris Woods on the other. This time they run the draw, but there was no room for Milson Jones because Rod Harding was in the hole, number 77, and he just held his ground and made the stop right at the line of scrimmage. Rod Harding, a rookie from Oklahoma State.
Well, Pat, they wanted to go with 2 rookies on that left side, Rod Harding and, of course, Clive Glover. Glover did not pan out, and Mark Seal, Canadian, played with the Ottawa Rough Riders, getting his chance to start.
They have a procedure call here as the pass goes over Brian Kelly's head. Appeared to me that the left offensive tackle pulled up out of his stance. That'd be Heck Pottier, but let's see who it is. There is a procedure penalty against the Eskimos, all right. The Argos will decline it because it'll bring up a 3rd down.
Procedure. Edmonton number 63. Declined. 3rd down.
Wow, the old carrots that you suggested I start eating are really working.
You're sharp tonight, Patio. But you know what happens? Damon Allen, like Mike Hohensee, probably has not had a lot of time running the offense, and Heck Pottier probably just is not used to a little different cadence than Matt Dunnigan might use. Little voice inflection probably just made him pull out of his stance a little early.
Big kick by Dixon goes over the head of Jan Carinci, who has to take it at his 9-yard line and then is snowed under as he gets to about the 12. So Hohensee is going to be in a big hole here as he comes out onto the field with the rest of the Argonaut offensive unit. That was a 55-yard punt by Tom Dixon and only a 3-yard return. Should the CFL team rosters increase the number of Canadians? If you feel that they should increase the number of Canadians on the roster, you dial 1-900-720-3720. You think they should just stay the way they are? 1-900-720-4720, and there is a 50-cent service charge. Hohensee's toss goes to Kerry Taylor. Taylor gets to about the 18-yard line, picks up about 5 yards. He's an interesting case. Went to the San Diego Chargers as a running back. They switched him to a defensive back. Came to Toronto. He's been a defensive back. They switched him to offense. And Kerry Taylor, coming into this ball game, had 30 receptions, and he was tied with Terry Greer for the most pass catches, but now he's running the football as well. Hohensee's pass right on the money to Thad Jemison. That was a good-looking throw by that rookie quarterback and a good catch by Jemison in front of Mark Jackson.
Story on Matt Dunnigan as far as Jackie Parker, the head coach, is concerned is this. It's a possibility he could come back, but it sounds to me as they don't really want to play him, but he is starting to feel a little better, and if Allen continues to have problems out there, Dunnigan could return in this game.
Hohensee's pass to Jemison was good for 19 yards. First down, Toronto. And this time he's going deep. But unfortunately, it was over the head of Jemison, and so it goes incomplete. Again, Mark Jackson, number 5, was on the coverage.
So getting back to Kerry Taylor, as you mentioned, they knew he was a good athlete when they brought him in on a 21-day trial last year. They just weren't sure where they were going to play him. He was a defensive back, as you said, and they had him at slot back earlier this year. Now with the deletion of Lester Brown, he's running out of the backfield, but, you know, really shows how they can detect talent. They knew they had a spot for him. They just had to find where to play him.
Over the middle, and this one is picked up by James Bell. Bell gives Edmonton possession in Toronto territory at the 52-yard line.
Well, really a pass that should not have been thrown. Trying to hit Paul Pearson down the middle in the seam, and James Bell was in perfect coverage, and no way that ball could have been put in there, and he comes up with the interception, giving Edmonton Eskimos excellent field position.
That's the 4th turnover by the Argonaut offense, and the big play was made by James Bell, the rookie from New Mexico.
And let me tell you, fellas, he's got a lot to learn. I said, have you ever played in cold weather? James says, no, but they keep telling me about it, how cold it's going to be. He says, I've never played in anything but the heat.
Well, he's got something to look forward to come November.
Has indeed.
First down, Eskimos at the Toronto 52. Argos lead at 26-21. This is Nelson Jones, the ball carrier, inside the Toronto 50 to about the 49-yard line. Have a pickup of about 3 as Neil Lumsden now checks into the ball game. Bob Obilovich saying, can we hang on to this thing? Can we even our record at 3-3?
You know, Pat, he is one of the most positive people you will meet in coaching. No matter what moves are made, no matter how many critics he may have, he never wavers from his stand.
Well, there's no question he has a great knowledge of the CFL. He's been around it since he played back in the 60s. This one was very nearly picked off by the middle linebacker, James Reed, but he couldn't squeeze it.
You know, we told you at the opening of the show we're going to keep a close look on James Reed, and I'm going to tell you how he was performing tonight. It's the first time really we've mentioned his name, and that drilled him right in the chest, almost knocked him over. But really, with the scheme that Edmonton's been using tonight, we haven't had to talk about James Reed. He has been involved in many of the plays.
Well, Franklin King is one of the reasons he's in there. He's not playing in Franklin's spot, but Franklin King, who was the starting defensive tackle, was released from last year. I gather he'll be with Hamilton when they play in Saskatchewan tomorrow night.
Well, I tell you, you've got to have an alert mind to keep track of these roster changes in the CFL.
Got a compliment?
Yes. Carinci dodges his way out over the 20 to about the 24-yard line, so the Argos will start there with 8 minutes and 38 seconds left to play in this third quarter. Toronto leads at 26-21, and we'll be back in a moment. It will not be won by Martina Navratilova. She was defeated today by Claudia Kota-Kilch. And so tomorrow we'll have the ladies semifinal. On Sunday it'll be the ladies final. It all comes to you here on CTV. What a day for sports tomorrow as well. We'll also have that Hamilton at Saskatchewan football game for you. First down, Toronto from their 24-yard line. Hohensee fires it over the middle, intending it for Jan Carinci, but it was a bad pass. It goes incomplete.
How about Sunday? Ladies final, Montreal at Calgary. Great doubleheader there as well.
Calgary fans, if they want to see a fine football club, too, should go out Sunday afternoon, because that Montreal team is finally starting after 3 or 4 years under head coach Joe Galat to reach the status he knew they would, and they're a team to be watched this year.
On second down, Hohensee puts it up for Jemison, who is there. A flag comes down. We're going to have an interference call against Mark Jackson. Well, there was no chance the pass was going to be completed, but maybe it was because Mark Jackson interfered earlier. I didn't see.
Defensive forward pass interference. Edmonton number 5. First down.
I didn't see the collision, did you?
I didn't, quite frankly, I didn't, Pat. Nevertheless, the Argonauts get a break on a play that should have gone incomplete. Now they've got a first down.
Boy, and it's a big play, too. They pick up 19 yards. The ball now at their 43-yard line. There's the reverse to Terry Greer. And Greer gets another first down into Edmonton territory before Cliff Tony just collars him around the neck and drills him out of bounds. But the reverse works for 15 yards.
Sure appeared as though this play was going to go a lot further as Terry Greer got out in the open field. Got a good block right there by Tony Antunovic. But Cliff Tony, with some excellent speed, catches him and collars him from behind.
So the Argonauts leading it by 5 points are on the move once again with the ball in Edmonton territory at the Eskimo 53. Cohency fires for Carinci. He makes the catch despite a big hit from Laurent Delorier. You call that concentration, and you also call it willing to sacrifice yourself to make the catch, because Carinci is still down. The pickup is 21 yards.
Well, Pat, you called him a gamer, and what a perfect term to describe Jan Carinci. Fabulous catch.
I'll tell you, somebody else who did an excellent job on the play was Jeff Inglis, who was able to neutralize Stuart Hill and afford Mike Cohency, the Toronto quarterback, an opportunity to deliver that ball. You know, the way Carinci plays, I'm amazed that he gets through 5 or 6 games in a season because he's taking hits all over the field, but he is a tough customer.
Well, they love him here in Toronto. You can hear the crowd give him just a wonderful ovation as he leaves the field. And boy, who wouldn't like a guy like him? Rover, slot back, halfback, holds for the kicker. I mean, he does everything but sell popcorn.
And also a local boy who went to school at Maryland and had a fine career there. First down, Argos at the Edmonton 34-yard line. Touchdown, Jeff Townsend. Mike Cohency from the University of Minnesota finds Jeff Townsend all alone for the major score, and the Argos have upped their lead to 11 points.
What a perfect throw that was. And Jeff Townsend sneaks in behind Cliff Toney on the out and up, and great throw by Mike Cohency.
The point after by Lance Chomick is good. And the Argos lead is now 12 points. A beautiful touchdown pass from Mike Cohency to Jeff Townsend. Townsend, another local Toronto boy. The Argos lead at 33-21, and we'll be back with their kickoff in a moment. All season long, 3 of them have gone for touchdowns. 1 catch tonight. It goes for a major score. As a result, the Argos are out in front by 12 points, 33-21. And that 86-yard drive only took 4 plays.
Well, Pat, we selected him as our Carling O'Keefe Offensive Game Star a few weeks ago in their big win over Hamilton when he had 2 of his 3 touchdowns in that ball game.
Olysic's kickoff is deep. But Chris Woods is going to bring it out of there. Olysik saved the touchdown on the tackle of Chris Woods at the 52-yard line. 56 yards the return. Watch it. It's a beauty.
Well, he just gets the seam. 33 Rick House makes a good kick-out block there, and then it's just a foot race. And I'll tell you, Hank Olysik does an excellent job making the tackle there.
You know, Hank impressed me.
Oh,
the fact that he was able to get over there.
Well, listen, Hank's a good athlete. Don't let him fool you.
First down, Eskimos at the Edmonton 52-yard line. Handoff is to Cowan. Cowan just fires through there. Dropped the football. The Argos have recovered at their own 48-yard line. Darrell Wilson, who has a couple of interceptions, also comes up with the football recovery.
A great piece of running here by Larry Cowan. Good hold, good block by Rick House, but the ball comes loose. I believe it was number 13, Darrell Wilson, who stripped it and made the recovery himself.
So the Argos, after that touchdown, come right back with a fumble recovery and have possession at their 47-yard line. 6 minutes left to play in this third quarter. Toronto 33, Edmonton 21. On the draw, Bob Bronk is wrapped up early by Danny Bass, number 30.
Funny, I think that's the first time we've mentioned Danny Bass's name tonight. And with the Edmonton Eskimos trailing by 12 points, they've decided to blitz and come after the quarterback a little more. That time, Danny Bass coming through on the blitz and making the play. But there's Darrell Wilson. And, you know, each defensive team gives points for certain aspects of the defensive game. And for fumble recovery, strips, interceptions. And Darrell Wilson's going to have a lot of points after tonight's game.
Second down, about 12 yards to go. Argos. Hohensy's pass is caught by Kerry Taylor for the first down at the Edmonton 52-yard line. He went high in the air to make the catch in front of Jeff Treflin.
You know, when you're trying to move the football, you've got to come up with the big catches, and what a tremendous catch that was. Turned his body around in the air, great control, and that's a big catch by Kerry Taylor.
Hohensee has looked much sharper tonight than he did again against the BC Lions last week. Mind you, he's been in camp an extra few days.
Well, that's true, and he's stepping up in the pocket. The offensive line's doing a good job giving him time to throw.
First down, Toronto. Again, that little counter, and here's Jan Carinci on the move down to the Edmonton 32. Cliff Toney finally brings him down, along with Mark Jackson, but it's another big Toronto first down, a gain of 20.
You take a look at this Edmonton bench, and they realize if they don't stop the Argos here, they are in a very, very tough spot. It'll be hard to come back if another touchdown's put up for those Argonauts.
Boy, what a tremendous block that was by 69 Dan Ferroni on number 30 Danny Bass to spring Jan Carinci free on that slot back trap.
Hohensee over the middle for Carinci, who was all alone. But unfortunately, Hohensee couldn't get it to him.
Hohensee had the hands on the helmet after he released that because he knew he had an instant 6 if he could have feathered it in there. Unfortunately, just a little overeager and led him too far.
But the Argos have started this second half in an impressive fashion with Hohensee at the controls. They lead it by 12.
I think the big thing is that that offensive line is really giving him the time to throw.
Hohensee has another Toronto first down at the Edmonton 10-yard line. A 21-yard run by the rookie Toronto quarterback. Well, you know, we were all surprised that Coach Obilovich took Mark Cassell out of the ball game, but he obviously knows these guys, and Hohensee has been very impressive, particularly in this second half.
Well, he told us yesterday that he thought Hohensee was a much better runner, and if he needed that scrambling aspect in a quarterback, he was the one he wanted in there.
Hohensee looking for Thad Jemison. Did he come up with the football or not?
No, I think it hit the ground first, Pat.
I think you're right, Bill, although there's a lot of jumping around down at the 1-yard line.
Well, let's have a look at it.
I'd like to see that one more time.
It's really difficult from that camera angle to see if he came up with it. Referees are having a meeting. Let's have one more look here. The ball is definitely tipped.
But does it ever hit the ground, or does it land on his stomach?
It might have landed right on the stomach of Thad Jemison, and that's exactly what the referees have determined.
Don't try to do the play-by-play, okay, Bill? The ball is right at the 1-yard line. So it's second down, a yard to go for the touchdown. Argos with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in this third quarter. Well, the Argos definitely jumped, and that's going to cost them a very valuable 5 yards.
I think Dan Ferroni started a little early. He should have had the ball.
Absolutely. There's that pass that Thad Jemison was given a reception on. The ball was popped up in the air, but Jemison was able to corral it when it hit him on the stomach.
See, Dan Ferroni's still thinking about the time he had the ball and was running with it.
So the ball is back at the 6-yard line now. Now, Kerry Taylor ended up on the seat of his pants, and the fans are upset. They feel it should have been a pass interference. He came right out of his shoe. But I don't know. We'd have to see it again.
Well, let's have a look. James Bell gives him a little grab on the goal line, continues on, and you have to turn around and try and play the football. I don't know. He got the hand on there. Kerry Taylor did trip, but he still had the hand on him. I don't know. That's a tough call to make. Fans don't like it, I know that.
But Lance Charmick will come out now and see if he can drill another one through the uprights. Bobby, how has Lance done so far tonight? He's 1 for 2. This one will come from the 13-yard line. And he puts it up and through. So the Argonauts now increase their lead to 15 points with 2 minutes and 32 seconds left to play in this third quarter. In this quarter, the Toronto Argonauts have 11 first downs. The Eskimos only 1. The Argos have marched for touchdowns of 92 and 86 yards, and then a 65-yard march that was culminated with that field goal by Lance Charmick.
The interesting part has been the way clubs are coming up with quarterbacks who look so brilliant. Hobart, who was not considered good enough to start for Hamilton and then got in against Montreal and turned into a terror. And remember, you'll see him tomorrow as Hamilton's in Saskatchewan. Then you've got Montreal in Calgary on Sunday, both on CTV.
From the 35-yard line, the Eskimos begin. Allen going deep for Marco Sinkar. And he makes the catch at the 33-yard line. He got in behind Bo Metcalf, and Marco Sinkar was able to squeeze it. I had to wait for a moment there because I didn't know if he had dropped it on the way down.
That was a great throw by Damon Allen. Just led Marco Sinkar perfectly. Juggles the ball, but hangs on. And well, that's a big gain for Edmonton. They've got to get themselves back in this ball game. They trail 36-21. But a big play like that can turn things around in a hurry.
Well, it was a 41-yard pickup, and if they can put this one in the end zone, they are right back in this ball game because we've got a long way to go. 2 minutes and 7 seconds left to play in the third quarter. Rod Knupp is the injured Edmonton Eskimo, their left offensive guard.
Well, getting back to what I was talking about, the way that suddenly clubs who looked like they had no quarterbacking are finding quarterbacks who dazzle. Hohensee, who has taken over here for Casale, who is considered the man who would replace Conrad Holloway when he was injured, and Ricky Turner, who had been number 2 but also was on the injury list, and they were just waiting for Ricky to get back. And now Hohensee comes in, and obviously from his performance thus far in this game has become number 1 among the active and healthy quarterbacks with the Toronto Argonauts. And then, as we said, Hobart, who came in and did the job for the Hamilton Tiger Cats against Montreal. So suddenly coaches, and I think to their amazement, are unearthing some very fine quarterback talent, because if they are not amazed about it, they should be, or they should have started them.
Well, plus the fact that the more these young quarterbacks play, the better they obviously are going to become.
It's a very good point.
You know, as evidence, those who watched last week's game when BC was here, Hohensee looked like he should have been back in high school, but then 1 week later he comes in and looks particularly sharp.
It's been a long time, though, Pat and Leaf, that I can recall where so many clubs seem to have backup quarterbacks who can come in and do a respectable job.
Tomorrow, the ladies semifinal in the Players Tennis Challenge will come to you here on CTV. Then at night, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who just looked outstanding in Montreal last week, will take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Then on Sunday, we'll have the ladies final in that Players Tennis Challenge, followed by the Calgary and Montreal football game from McMahon Stadium in Cowtown. First down, Eskimos at the Toronto 34. Allen's pass looking for Chris Woods. Touchdown, Eskimos. A brilliant catch by Chris Woods with Bo Metcalf all over him. There is a penalty marker back at the line of scrimmage. And it looks as though this is coming back.
Oh, that's a shame, because what an outstanding throw that was by the youngster Damon Allen.
Edmonton number 32. First down repeated.
Neil Lumsden is called for holding. The touchdown is wiped out.
Well, let's see if we can see. Lumsden splits off to the right of your screen and can't really see what happens, but nevertheless, that's just an excellent throw and great concentration by Chris Woods.
Well, they ruled that Lumsden held Dan Rasevich, the linebacker who was blitzing on the play. And so now the Eskimos are backed up to the Toronto 44. First and 20. Allen comes right back to Marco Sinkar, but it's tipped away by Bo Metcalf.
And that's the deception of zone coverage every once in a while with a young quarterback. He assumed that Sincar had one-on-one coverage back there, but he didn't realize it was really a zone, and Bo Metcalf had dropped off, and he came up with a nice play to knock that ball away.
Larry Cowan comes into the ball game. Milson Jones, who came over to Edmonton from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, is out. Incidentally, congratulations to the Blue Bombers. That impressive victory over Ottawa last night.
Good to see Todd Clements get rolling again. He had a nice night.
So did Willard Reeves. The ball is dropped, but Allen was able to grab it back in as Walter Ballard was all over him.
Well, that's what they hoped to get from Walter Ballard when they acquired him from the Calgary Stampeders in the compensation for quarterback Joe Barnes, and he's given that to the Argonauts this season. Good pass rusher from that defensive end spot.
That's the third sack by the Argos, the first by Ballard and two by James Curry. Ballard actually stripped Allen of the ball, but it bounced right back into his hands.
Fourth sack on the season for Walter Ballard, and they really are looking to him to anchor that defensive line, along with, of course, number 74, James Curry.
Dixon's punt, a high twisting spiral that Brazeley allows to bounce into the end zone and grabs it and concedes the single point. You could tell his American training, though. He faked the special team unit that was coming down to cover on the play. The ball bounced over into the end zone.
Well, didn't make much difference because Edmonton can't down the ball on the 1 yard line anyway, so I think he went through the act for nothing.
So the ball will come out to the 35-yard line. You see, the problem with that play, of course, is that somebody can down it. The punter can for a touchdown. So from the 35-yard line, Mike Hohensee will direct that Argo offense with just 14 seconds left to play in this third quarter. An underhand shot to Bob Bronk. And Bronk just gallops his way out to midfield. Jeff Treflin finally cut the legs out from under him, but Bronk had rambled all the way to the 54.
Argos do an excellent job setting this screen up, allow that defensive line to get the penetration, and then peel off and get out in front of Bob Bronk. Number 69, Dan Ferroni, gets an excellent block. There's Tony Antunovic out in front, and that's just an extremely well executed screenplay.
And it picked up 19 yards. This will be the final play of the third quarter.
Boy, he can run.
He really can. Picks up another first down, or very close to it, as the third quarter comes to an end with the Toronto Argonauts out in front of the Edmonton Eskimos 36-22. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Headlines, they are hoping that their offense can keep possession here at second down, a yard to go as we begin this fourth quarter of play. The toss goes to Kerry Taylor. A flag comes down. Taylor would have the first down as he crossed inside the 45-yard line. But it's obviously a holding penalty against the Argos.
This kid Taylor comes by his running ability, honestly.
Toronto number 66. Second down repeated.
Because he was a running back in college. There you have the third quarter stats. The Chevrolet third quarter stats, and the first downs are very heavily now in favor of the Argos, 22-12.
Well, the holding penalty against Kelvin Prunster means it's second down, about 12 yards to go. Hohensee puts it up for Paul Pearson. He was given a rough ride by James Bell as he's down at the 45-yard line.
That's a great read by Mike Hohensee. He saw the blitz coming. He knew, I've got to get rid of this thing quickly. Paul Pearson across the middle, and he really takes the hook from James Bell there. Well, that's roughing. Got to call that. You get that hook up in the face mask, I think the referee's got to make that call.
They didn't get the first down because of the penalty, but they got it because of the fact that Paul Pearson showed his determination and got to the yard marker right at the 45-yard line. So it's first down, Toronto. They lead it 36-22. We have just begun play in the fourth quarter. There's that little counter again to Pearson. And Pearson is inside the 25 to the 24-yard line. And the Argos look as sharp as they have looked in any game this season. 21 yards the gain.
And a great block by Tom Trefo, number 50, and an excellent cut by Paul Pearson. Boy, he's having himself a whale of a game. That big 71-yard pass reception to start the third quarter, and now an excellent run on the slot back trot.
Another first down for Toronto. Owense's pass to Terry Greer, a diving grab right at the 6-yard line. Well, the Argos just playing with a tremendous amount of confidence at this point in the ball game.
And Mike Owensy just making the right reads every time. He's on the blitz once again. He's got the post to Terry Greer and rifles that ball in there. Mike Owensy, I've been impressed with the way he's handled himself on the field tonight. He's put together some excellent drives.
As we say, he did play in the USFL. I believe it was Washington, wasn't it, Leaf?
I'm not sure, Pat.
Floats it up, intended for Terry Greer, but it goes incomplete.
But he's just been able to feel that blitz every time it's coming. He's called the right play. Once again, the blitz coming. That's the right pattern to call. Just that little wide up to your outside receiver.
Well, we had a pass interference call against the Eskimos. And so it'll be half the distance to the goal line, which is the 3.5-yard line.
And here comes the short yardage team. James Curry will come in as an offensive end along with number 39, William Mitchell. Well, yep. Dave McNeil got caught for holding there. He nearly undressed Jan Carinci as he was trying to go across the field.
Kerry Taylor does not get into the end zone because Cliff Toney just showed you what that defensive alignment of the Eskimos is made out of. He was determined that he wasn't going to let him in there, and it appeared as though Taylor was going to walk in initially.
Well, he's got some excellent speed, Cliff Toney, and Taylor thought he could get to the outside, but as we saw earlier, when Cliff Toney caught Terry Greer from behind, he's got some excellent speed. That's a great play.
Argos are inside the 2-yard line. Second down. Kerry Taylor leaps, does not get in.
Edmonton got excellent penetration.
Another penalty marker on the field, and it is against the Eskimos. Well, you've got to feel sorry for Edmonton because they're just showing you the determination they have.
Edmonton, number 24, first down.
Darrell Hull is called offside, so it is first down Toronto. The ball at the Edmonton 1-yard line.
Oh, that's too bad because John Daly, number 44, has had a tough night in pass coverage. Just made a whale of a tackle on Kerry Taylor to keep him out of the end zone.
Owensy keeps it himself and is in for the major score. Well, it's a real uphill struggle now for the Eskimos. They trail by 20 with the point after yet to come.
Good surge on that left side. Dan Ferroni, Kelvin Prinster paved the way for Mike Hohensy's second touchdown of the season.
Lance Chomik's point after is good. The Argos now lead it 43-22, and we'll be back with the Toronto kickoff in a moment. Mike Owensy has really ignited this Toronto offense. He's completed 12 of 19 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's rushed the football 3 times himself for 33 yards, 1 touchdown. But listen to the drives he's engineered. 92 yards for a touchdown. 86 yards for a touchdown. 65 yards have resulted in a field goal, and 75 yards for a touchdown. Mike Owensy has become an instant star here in Toronto, and he's only played a quarter and 3.5 minutes. Kickoff by Olisic bounces down around the 20-yard line. And finally, the Eskimos decide they better fall on it at the 18 because that ball is alive to everybody who's on that unit coming down. John Mandarich, number 75, just fell on the ball. Mandarich, incidentally, is another Toronto area boy. He's from Oakville.
Went to Kent State. Been with the Edmonton Eskimos now for 2 years. Originally an offensive lineman, but it was so difficult to crack that fine offensive line that they have. They switched into defense, and he's been a starter.
Jim Corrigal, a former great Argonaut, was also a graduate of Kent State. Eskimos begin from their 18-yard line. Allen's pass is caught by Brian Kelly, who is forced out at the 35-yard line, but it'll be an Eskimo first down.
Damon Allen's got a good arm on the run there. He really drilled that ball, and Brian Kelly, as he usually does, ran an excellent out pattern.
It's only Brian's second catch of the evening, which tells you the Argos must be doing quite a number on him defensively. The clock now, of course, is as big an enemy as the Argonauts. 10 minutes and 45 seconds left to play in the ball game, and the Eskimos trail by 3 touchdowns. And again, we're going to have a time count violation against Edmonton.
David Allen tried to check off the play. Didn't like what he saw at the line of scrimmage. Went to an audible. Unfortunately for the Eskimos, just took too much time.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 9. First down repeated.
Well, they're at the stage right now where they can't make too many more mistakes like this. They've got a little over 10 minutes remaining. Trail by 21 points. Got to try and get some sustained drives going.
First and 15 from their 30-yard line. Allen fires it into the middle. Goes incomplete, intending it for Larry Cowan.
A nice job by number 70, James Reed, the middle linebacker. He just dropped back deep in his zone coverage, read the quarterback, and then reacted when the ball was thrown. Made a good hit on Larry Cowan, forcing him to cough up the football.
Bob Obilovich played in the Canadian Football League for about 6 seasons with the Ottawa Rough Riders. He was with them when they lost to Saskatchewan in the 1966 Grey Cup final.
You say he was pretty tough at defensive back.
I'll tell you, he could hit a ton. I saw him one night when he cracked his helmet in a game against the BC Lions. Pass intended for Rick House is over everybody's head.
That's too bad. He had Rick House wide open downfield, but running to your left's a lot more difficult to throw than running to your right, and that time Damon Allen just sailed that ball over everybody. Well, the Argonauts secondary's taken some heat this year. Said they've given up far too many yards, but other than that first quarter disaster that Chris Woods took 73 yards, I can't really remember the secondary giving up too many more long passes. They've done a good job. Well, the one to Marco Sincar in the third quarter, that was about 40 yards.
Well, the whole defensive unit has really played well in this second half. They've only given up a single point. Dixon's punt will be handled by Carl Braisley, who's back inside his 20, trying to get to the outside. Well, he ran a long way to give up about 8 yards. So the Argos will be starting deep in their own territory when we return, but they lead the Edmonton Eskimos 43-22.
Play of the Toronto Argonauts defense is this young man, Mark Seal, because he was put in a defensive tackle, and Bob Obilovich said if he can do the job, he said, I think our defense is going to do a real good number on Edmonton tonight. Joe Moss, coach of Ottawa, let Mark Seal go with the Ottawa Rough Riders, and the comment he had was, we'll see if his philosophy on life has changed. He obviously didn't think that Seal devoted enough energy toward the life of football, but he has been obviously, as we say, doing the job tonight.
Ball carrier is Jan Carinci, and he gets to the line of scrimmage not much further before he ran into Danny Bass. Bass, of course, started his CFL career with the Toronto Argonauts after graduating from Michigan, then went to Calgary and now to Edmonton.
Nice job by Danny Bass. The inside linebacking spot, pretty good spot for him. He's a 3-4 kind of linebacker, not really what you'd want if you had a 4-3 middle linebacking scheme, but he's got that range to play the good pass coverage and make the good tackles like you saw just there.
ONC fires. Paul Pearson was not able to make the catch. Hit him in the shoulder pads and bounced away.
You know, gentlemen, there are a lot of players out there to start choosing the O'Keefe Game Stars from. It's going to be a fairly tough task.
A lot of guys in Toronto played well defensively tonight. James Curry, a couple of sacks.
It was a funny game, though. The Eskimos started out quickly, then the Argos bounced right back, took a big lead of 19-7. Then the Eskimos scored 14 points in the second quarter, led it at halftime, 21-19. Now the Argos ran wild in the third quarter, lead it 43-22, and appear to have this one well in hand as Chris Woods takes it at his 50-yard line. And he had absolutely no place to go, and I think he did the smart thing, just buried himself.
Well, you talk offensively, you have to look towards Paul Pearson. It was that big 71-yard catch that got the Argonauts out of the gate quickly in the third quarter. He's had a good run on the trap and really ignited this team here in the second half. 4 catches for 90-some yards.
Mike Hohensee has come in and just done a whale of a job. As you take a look at the next time the Edmonton Eskimos will play at home, they have about 13 days off before they meet the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the 23rd of August. Allen's pass. A flag comes down. We're going to have an interference call on Carl Brazeley, who made contact with Rick House a little bit before the ball got there.
Oh, yeah, no question about that one. Damon Allen threw it into the hole where he thought Rick House would end up, and Carl Brazeley just came over the top and collided with him.
Pass interference, Toronto number 2. First down.
So the Eskimos now have possession inside the Toronto 40-yard line with 8 minutes and 5 seconds left to play in the ball game. They need touchdowns in a hurry. They trail by 21 points. The Argos all were coming on that occasion. Dan Rasevich was there. So too was Walter Ballard, James Curry, William Mitchell. Damon Allen had absolutely no chance.
Looked like a team meeting in the Edmonton backfield there as they all came through. Dan Rasevich, the first one really to make contact, but any one of 5 could be credited with that sack.
Ball is now back at the Toronto 48-yard line. For Rick House, and he overthrew him. Boy, this really tightens up the races east and west, though. Winnipeg and Edmonton tied for second in the Western Conference. Toronto and Montreal tied for first in the Eastern Conference, with the Concords to play on Sunday in Calgary.
You know what, Pat? I'm really going to be interested to see how the Montreal Concords react in their game on Sunday. They had that tough loss out in BC, and then, of course, last week took a pasting from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and I just want to see how Joe Galat and his troops react from that one.
I want to see how Hamilton reacts tomorrow, too, because they were so impressive with Ken Hobart in Montreal. This is going to be a 55-yard field goal try by Tom Dixon. And it's short, bounces into the end zone, and Carl Brazeley will be content, I'm sure, to give up the single point, but he's going to make them come to him. And he kills a little bit of time. As a matter of fact, we're down to 6 minutes, 33 seconds left to play in the ball game. The Toronto Argonauts lead it by 20 points, 43-23. And Bill Stevenson at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, where the Argonauts have just exploded in this second half. And they're on their way to their 3rd victory of the season, leading the Edmonton Eskimos 43-23 with just 6:33 left to play in this ball game. Thad Jemison caught a couple of impressive-looking passes, and I'm sure that he'll be on the roster for the next week or so. That's the way you've got to look at this Toronto team. You never know.
You're never quite sure from week to week.
Well, except that Bob Abilovich figured that this was his lineup. He says, if they perform like I think they can, he says, this is the way we're staying.
Kerry Taylor, the ball carrier, gets out to the 53-yard line. The Argos, of course, took over at their own 48 on that 55-yard field goal try by Tom Dixon that went for a single point.
Well, Sunday we'll be in Calgary, and tomorrow night our Western counterparts, Dale Isaac, Frank Rigney, and Al McCann will have the Hamilton, Saskatchewan game for you from Taylor Field. Should be a good one.
he fires for Terry Greer, who was just a little bit high, and when he tried to bring it down, it went right through his hands.
Boy, that's the kind of catch we've been so accustomed to seeing Terry make routine. Got great soft hands, but unfortunately that time just couldn't bring it in. Good throw, though, once again by Mike Hohensee.
Terry Greer has caught 4 passes tonight. That gives him 34 on the season. And, of course, he leads the league in yardage gained. Should the CFL team rosters increase the number of Canadians? They're the numbers to call. If you vote yay or nay, it'll cost you 50 cents. Oh, Lisick just booms one. Chris Woods at his 3-yard line. Nice to watch Chris Woods run. He got it out to about the 18-yard line with just 5 minutes and 8 seconds left to play in the ball game. Well, now, Leaf, let me ask you this. Did the Argos make a lot of adjustments at halftime from what you've seen here in the second half, or did they simply execute better? The big adjustment, of course, was putting Mike Hohensee in at quarterback. But
well, obviously, that was a big adjustment offensively. He's had an excellent second half, but defensively, they've struggled in their first 5 football games. And tonight, what they've done better, they haven't beat themselves. They haven't given up the big play, except that 1 touchdown pass to Chris Woods. They've played better as 12 men on the field. They played their zones well, and they've done a good job and really frustrated the Edmonton quarterbacks.
One of whom, Damon Allen, just got the ball out to the 20. Second down, about 4 yards to go. Allen fires. Rickhouse couldn't make the catch at the 40-yard line. It would have been a first down.
That's too bad. That's a ball Rickhouse should have caught, and he knows it. He read the zone coverage perfectly, found himself in the open hole. Damon Allen couldn't have thrown it any better, and boy, House should have made the catch.
Boy, this sets up some game in Montreal next week, though. On Friday night, we'll have the Toronto Argonauts playing in Montreal against the Concords. And there's no telling how many people could be in the Olympic Stadium for that one, because if Montreal ever wins in Calgary, look out, there could be 50,000 in Montreal.
Oh, and I love to see that. They'd make a little noise, wouldn't they, at the Big O?
They make a lot of noise when there's only 18 in there.
That's true.
Good punt by Dixon. Taylor back at his 34-yard line. And Kerry Taylor's got to be a pretty tired fellow tonight. He's had a lot of action running the football, running pass routes, returning punts. Gets that out to the 41-yard line. Chris Skinner was down to make the tackle for Edmonton, and that brings us to 3 minutes and 45 seconds left to play in this ball game. At the conclusion of the game, we'll give you the result of our poll, and we'll also tell you the Carling O'Keefe offensive and defensive game stars. With Toronto leading it by 20, you can put this one in the record books. Kerry Taylor, the ball carrier, picks up maybe a yard before he runs into Dan Kearns, number 95. And, of course, on running plays, they just crank up the clock again, and it's moving.
I'm sure Mike Hohensee's been instructed by his head coach there, Bob Abilovich. Keep everything simple now. Don't give up a turnover that could let Edmonton in the back door.
Now the Toronto quarterback is sacked back at the 36-yard line. In there was Frank Balkovec, who played his football at the University of Toronto. 43-23, the Argos lead it, and we'll be back in a moment. On third down and about 14 yards to go with just 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to play in the ball game, Hank Olisic will be punting.
Only one man back for Edmonton. I'm sure they're coming hard after Hank.
We are experiencing problems with the video portion of our transmission. Please do not adjust your set.
Chris Woods has it inside his 30 and is forced out by Dennis Clay. Well, let's see how the East has done against the Western Conference in interlocking play. This will be the 7th victory for the Eastern Conference against 9 losses. The victory by Winnipeg last night over Ottawa means that the Western Conference leads the East 9 victories to 7. This will be the 7th victory by the Eastern Conference. So it's much closer than it has been in previous years. Montreal last year did well against the West. They're doing well again this year. They're 3-1. Eskimos start at their 27-yard line. Allen's pass is complete to Dan Runge. And the big guy at 6'9" from Guelph University is out to the 38-yard line.
How about that 6'9", 250? He blocks out the sun on an afternoon game.
Nice young fella. I had a chat with him before the ball game, and he told me that he'd like to be living out in Edmonton if he can get something going in the off season.
Not a bad target.
If they have a basketball team out there, he should certainly apply. Ball is at the 39-yard line. First down, Eskimos. The clock is running. We're down to 2 minutes left in the game. And going for Brian Kelly deep, but the ball is over his head. It's going to be a short week for the Montreal Concords because they will play on Sunday in Calgary. Then they'll come back and play the Argos next Friday. So tough time. The scheduling is tough in the CFL, as evidenced by the Ottawa Rough Riders, who really had a short week going into Winnipeg. And it showed on the scoreboard.
I think it showed. I was just going to say that.
And let's see, did he get out of bounds? He did. But, you know, talking of that Ottawa-Winnipeg game, there was no question that Blue Bombers were full value for the victory. But football's a funny game, isn't it? Ottawa got an awful lot of bad breaks early. Otherwise, that could have been an interesting ball game for, you know, far longer than it was.
Well, they sure did. The bounce off the helmet, the catch that Joe Poplawski made, I think, really got them down in a hurry. And they're a young team, and things like that can really disrupt you.
Well, of course, when they surrendered the ball, when Wayman Aldridge dropped it down on the 1-yard line,
that was big.
Because they would have gone back into the lead at that point. Dixon punting, gets another good one away. Carinci awaits at his 16. The flag comes down as Carinci is dropped by Larry Ruck at the 20-yard line. And all this happens with 1:38 left to play in the ball game. Penalty is against the Argos. The ebb and flow of a football game is a strange thing, though. Let's hear the call.
Illegal block. Toronto number 2. First down.
Carl Brazeley called for an illegal block. I mean, the Eskimos totally dominated the second quarter, led at halftime 21-19. Looked the better of the two teams at that point. Argos come out, just blow them away in the third quarter.
You know, Pat, I think you could always pin it down to one or maybe two plays that really turn a football game around, and there's no doubt in my mind that the big play in the ballgame was that 71-yard pass reception by Paul Pearson. He got them off to a good start, and they've never looked back in the second half.
There was another big play when Matt Dunnigan was injured, because when you take him out of that Edmonton roster, I mean, you can see the difference between the rookie quarterback and Matt Dunnigan, who just knows how to win. I mean, he knows how to generate offense.
Well, we don't know how severe his injury really is. Jackie Parker thought it severe enough not to play him in the second half, and you know, you have to agree with that decision. Only in the 6th game of the season. It's a long way to go.
And of course, they're off for, 13 days now, so it'll give them a lot of time to rest up. ONC runs it himself, gets out over the 25, has another first down. And the moment they spot the ball and referee Ross Perrier blows the whistle, we'll have time moving along.
I'm not so sure Bob Abilovich is too excited about Mike Hohensee running the football at this stage of the game. He's been a very pleasant surprise for Coach Abilovich, and would not like to see him injured at this point.
We're under a minute left to play in the game now. First down, Toronto. Bob Bronk, the ball carrier. And Bronk is over the 35 to about the 36-yard line for a pickup of 8. Laurent Delorier and Darrell Hall were there to bring him down.
Boy, he is a load when he gets steaming around the corner, isn't he? 6 foot, 215, graduate of Queens. Would not want to be in his way when he gets angry.
And he suffered a severe knee injury last year, and then he was injured. Was it last week's game? And then it appeared as though it was the knee again, but fortunately it wasn't. Because Bob Brock is so important to the offensive scheme of these Toronto Argonauts. Clock is running. Underneath 35 seconds left to play now. Hohensee keeps it himself, and he should have another Toronto first down. And if he does, which he does, according to referee Ross Perrier, the Argos will be able to run out the clock. Toronto 43, Edmonton 23. Argos, with their third victory of the season against 3 losses, have moved in to a temporary tie for first place with the Montreal Concords, who have only played 5 games. And in the Western Conference, the BC Lions have played 5, won 5. Edmonton and Winnipeg are 3-3. Well, let's make Winnipeg 3-2 and Edmonton 3-3. And Saskatchewan will have an opportunity to move into that second place tie tomorrow night. Hohensee took the pass from center, just stepped back a couple of yards. And we have but 1 play to go. Well, a lot of people in Toronto are going to be very surprised at the outcome of this game, because when Condredge Holloway was injured a couple of games back, many people suggested that was the season until his return. But Mike Hohensee has come on here tonight and really been impressive.
Well, there's no doubt they were bitter about the way they lost that game out in Edmonton. They said, hey, they robbed us. And we wanted to try and show them something, and I guess they did tonight. 43-23 is a pretty good victory.
There's your ball game. The Toronto Argonauts have defeated the Edmonton Eskimos 43-20.